Yours gives me plus. Hey, this is Joe for the Joe Wants Project, and you're watching Show Me Your Pick right here on YouTube with Fruitcake Tony. Now back to the show.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Hello.
How's it going,
everybody? Oh, yes. And we are live on a Saturday.
I was jamming with my Halenville pick.
It is a great night to be streaming, everybody.
Yeah. It is a very nice night to be streaming. November the 13th, 2021.
Got some birthday boys.
Well, we got some birthday boys. Nice.
You too can find out how to get one of these.
Yes.
Yes.
Read the description.
I was just actually using that pick. It works very well as a pick as well. I was jamming along to the intro music.
Nice.
Very nice.
John. How are you? Good to see you, man. Very good
to see you. How are you, Sandra?
Hanging in there. Hanging in there.
We got a birthday.
Happy
birthday, boy.
We got a birthday in the house tonight.
I did not do it.
There he is.
That dude right down there.
Thanks for all your birthday wishes, all you guys.
There he is.
Happy birthday, Charles Green.
Have a good day. Enjoying it.
Good.
Enjoying it. It's a good day, guys.
24, 25 this year, Charles.
That's it. 25, brother. 25 and holding.
Right here. Yes. 25 and holding. Me too.
Nice.
I got a message from Lenny and Mary earlier, and Lenny told me Mary was singing me happy birthday. I got to tell you, that's the sweetest darn message I've heard all day, guys. Very cool. Shout out to Lenny and Mary. You guys, love you guys.
I want to meet them both in person because I've only seen one picture of Mary, but she's so pretty. Like, I want to meet them both in person.
Lenny is so pretty too. I saw in the video. I was like,
same jeans, right? Yeah.
I met Lenny.
I saw her Halloween. You know, Mary entered the Halloween contest last year.
Yeah.
And but I saw a picture of her saying hi to David Nesdahl. That's like 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, I think. I'm sorry if I get the year wrong. Just a great pick.
I would love
my grandmother. My grandmother was a model back in the 20s, and she reminds me of her. Like, it's really classic.
Yeah.
Beauty, you know.
But I met Lenny at EVH Con though.
You got to meet
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Was that cool?
Oh, it was awesome.
I bet she's even cooler in person.
Very cool. Yep.
It's Quentin
James. We hung out the whole day.
She on video because I can hear her voice and stuff. And it was like, it was very cool.
Yeah, she's a great person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I love her enthusiasm too.
You are in the chat.
I haven't, Sandra, I haven't seen Quentin in the chat yet.
Okay.
I don't see him there.
I don't know if he'll show up or not. Anyway, I'm just gonna open this
here
while we all talk about stuff.
All right.
So, yeah, talk amongst yourselves.
Rip it on open.
Oh, I gotta grab mine quick.
I don't want a paper cut.
No, don't do that. That's no fun. You got to squeeze lemon juice in it. Yes. Oh,
This is like study hall note here.
cool. Are you gonna share it with the class, or maybe not?
Oh, okay, and it's. Oh man, he just sent a blank piece of paper.
Maybe it's invisible ink.
Oh shit, maybe.
Invisible ink.
Sorry.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
There
Yep.
you go.
Awesome.
I love those pics.
All right. Look at that.
Very nice.
That is cool.
You know,
Nice.
Thank you.
you know,
Quentin.
Sandra, you're so modest. Those pics are so cool. You know, I've been pretty vocal about how much I love that T-shirt and the Quentin James line of
Pick the butt.
everything
I
he
picked the butt.
has. You had a hand in the design of that pic, and I just want to give you a shout out.
Well,
It's
thank
just
you.
super awesome.
I gotta grab my package.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
He said, gave me 4 of them. Thanks, Quinn. All right. Hey, Dwight.
Sandra's
Hi.
picking his butt. Tom's grabbing his package.
What
This show's going off the rails already.
Oh,
kind
Lord.
of thing are we running here?
There he is. He's in the chat now. Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, Quentin, you just missed it.
Quit.
Hey, Quentin.
But-
We got a
Oh dear Lord. What's up,
big
Hitman?
show tonight. Big show. Big
That's a big
show.
pick, man.
Do you want me to open mine right now?
Open it, bro.
All
Open
right.
it. What
That's
you
all right.
got?
You're gonna spoil it. It's
I
the
like
same
how
as
it
Charles.
says it's from B.
Charles, it's Charles is gonna do it. You might as well open yours too, Charles. 'Cause it's the
Okay,
same
I'm
thing.
doing it right now. Right now.
Literally it says it's from B.
That's it, man.
I like that. All right, here we go.
Yeah, do
Getting
both of those at the
excited.
same time, TK.
I'm getting excited. Oh, okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, it's my favorite color too, green.
Nice, nice, nice.
Oh, sorry.
I've got some
Yeah,
Whoa,
Brendan artwork.
anatomically
Love it.
correct.
look at that.
Excellent.
Show that.
Excellent.
Don't worry about the front. I don't know what happened to the front. Just don't worry about that. So
We're gonna fill that up with pics there, Brendan.
There
That's
you go,
super
buddy.
cool. Thank you, man. This is so
got it.
cool.
That's
Yeah, you
all.
got
And
it,
look
man.
inside. This is what the best part is. Look.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm just checking it out right now. You know,
they're not
And
all
there's
butt cheeks
different
ones.
thicknesses.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh.
And different cuts on them, edge cuts. That's awesome too. You thought of that. This one
Nice.
is my
I've got
favorite.
Okay.
nice.
The plain one that's almost opaque.
Yeah.
That's my favorite feel wise. But obviously that one looks the coolest. I'm not gonna play with that one. But I'll tell you what I am gonna do. I got some of these, so I'm gonna
Nice. Put it in the
load
bag.
them up. Oh,
Oh.
look at that.
Look at that. Load up the butt.
What happened to my arm?
I don't know.
gotta
I
load
actually
the
can't
box.
wait
That's
to
so
play with
cool.
these pics, you guys.
Cool.
You get
This
that right.
makes me want to 3D
Get this
print so
right.
badly.
Yeah, man.
Right there. Boom.
Do you ever like sit there at work and you get an idea of something you want to 3D print and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
But-
Here's the thing, Brennan.
Thank you, Brendan.
You're welcome.
Can you automate it to send a file to your 3D printer like remotely over a network?
No, I have to save it on a USB.
If it's
So-
batch processed on your side at home, can you send a command remotely or no? Like you can start it.
Yeah, well, I can. I mean, I have to put it on a USB, but I can start it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't connect to a computer. It loads from the USB stick.
You,
Is that
you
what
can
mean?
you can connect the computer too and
Yeah.
do it, but I just load it on a USB because if I'm not near the computer, I can just start it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did print a bunch of those. So,
That's so cool.
but
Oh, dude, I would be going through like thousands of dollars of spool.
oh,
I'd be printing everything.
I well, because I bought it to make guitar parts, like
Right,
not
right,
like
yeah.
nut and other stuff. And you saw all the stuff that I made. I mean,
Yeah.
I got so much stuff. It's not even funny.
Well, but the practical application is even like in a remote third world where you can't get parts.
Right.
The applications are amazing.
I know. They are.
It's
They
so
are.
cool.
So
And welcome.
before we bring in our special guest, let's
be right back.
recognize these fine folks here in the chat. Excuse me. All right.
You want me to read them off?
You got it?
Go ahead,
I do
birthday
it?
boy.
Birthday
I'm
man.
gonna give it a shot. First of all,
Go for it.
we've got Mr. Brendan B. Squared. Brendan, my brother. Hey, the 5150 show and the British Electric Blues
Hey,
show
Andrew.
TV. Andrew, how are you doing, my brother? It's good to see you.
Nice.
We got Keith Campbell. What's going on, Keith? Sandra, we love you. Let me see here. Keith H. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, Keith.
Scrolling down. Ben Tom, it's good to see you, Mr. Tom. Tim Thomas, how you doing, bro?
Hey, Tim.
Janice, it's good to see you, Janice Lala. We got John Moronic. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, John.
Yeah. Hey, John.
Nice to see you, John.
Hey, John.
Dan of New Jersey. Dan, hey, brother.
Dan.
Guitar Hack. It's good to see you, Hack.
Hack.
Mr.
Thanks for
Head.
the birthday wishes, my man. You rock. And let me see here. We'll have to catch up with others as they. Oh, Dwight Bailey. How you doing, Dwight? It's good to see you, the Hitman in the house.
Man.
And I think that's probably about it for right now. Let me just double check. There's a lot of action in the chat. My goodness, everybody's
Welcome,
talking.
everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry about
I
that.
believe that's everybody for now. If anybody I missed, I apologize, and we'll catch you in a little bit. Did I get
Yeah.
Christopher Live Sour?
He's in there.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
Yeah,
to you too,
Christopher,
Mr.
happy birthday, my man. Something about the 13th of November, right?
Are you
Anyway.
here, Chris?
He is. He's in the
There
chat.
he is.
Yeah, I just saw him. I missed him. Man, I got Guitar Man 45, bro. Sorry, I almost missed you, brother.
There he is. Yep.
I think I got everybody now. Yeah.
Christopher Live Sour, dude. Happy birthday to
Happy
you, brother.
birthday,
Happy
Christopher.
birthday, brother.
Thanks for being here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
So Tony, you got somebody hiding in the green room?
Yes, absolutely. We got somebody hiding.
I think he's
in
probably
the
running
green
out of
room.
food and drink.
Waiting ever so patient.
Yeah.
I always think of remember the 5th of November.
Yeah.
We are
There
going
you
to
go.
have trivia
There you go.
later on in the
Yes, we
show for one of these
Nice.
and maybe two of these lovely things. We have a couple of trivia, 2-3 trivia questions in the
house.
ready to go, but
There's no
we have
yawning.
the maker of that Halenville pick with us.
Yeah.
He is a great dude. We are going to learn a lot about what these guitar picks are made of, how they're made, how they're imprinted. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, without
So,
further
without further ado,
let's get ready to.
please welcome Greg Collins
All right.
from Legend Picks. There he is.
Welcome, Greg.
Greg, welcome. Welcome.
Welcome. Nice to have you.
Hey.
My
Absolutely.
great
Good
pleasure
to
to be
see
with you tonight. The folks that I can see on the screen and also some of the folks you had mentioned, a lot of familiar names. So I know that this is a pretty tight network of folks you've got here because with David and Quentin, I know I just did some orders for us. So,
Nice.
so anyways, it's my great pleasure to be here and I look forward to chatting with all of you. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you,
Greg, how you
Pleasure.
doing?
Pleasure is
I'm
ours.
good. I am very
Nice
good.
to
Thank
see you, sir.
Yeah, right back at you, Tony. Right back at you.
Yes. We love the new guitar picks. Thank you so much.
Yep. That's a great design. So Sandra, you did all that?
Yes, I did.
She did.
Well,
She's
Yes.
very,
that's
very humble. She's not going to tell you, but
yeah,
she's
you are very
awesome.
humble. That's where the skills are. It sounds like, Tony, with Sandra. I was just kind of a middleman getting them to you, but it was that's a great design. Great design.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very nice.
Yeah,
So,
he turned out cool.
so Greg, let me start. You're a musician also. You're a guitar pick maker. What got you into the guitar pick making business?
I've played in bands, and my first bar gig was when I was 18. And around the late 80s, I was playing in a band called the Last Iowa Exit. And we were just a local band playing, small clubs. And I had been to a couple concerts, with Rick Nielsen, Rick Stone out guitar picks, and that was the thing back then in the 80s. I'm like, I need to get some picks myself that I can hand out to our small handful of regulars, our fans. And I gotta get into this somehow. And I started calling around to the big companies back then. The DeAndrea was the big guy in town, Dunlop. There were just a small handful of makers back then, and they wanted me to buy 2,000 or 3,000 guitar picks. I think they needed that to get their process set up for that to make it worth their while. And I'm like, well, I don't need 3,000 picks. I need like 50 or 100 or 150 picks.
Sure.
So I quickly hit a dead end with that, and I'm like, well, geez, there's got to be a way to do this somehow, or to get picks, and I just kept striking out. So I went up to Chicago, to McCormick Center, to a National Plastics Exposition. And I figured, look, if I can't buy picks, I'm going to make my own.
Wow.
Find out all the imprinting options, the cutting and the tumbling, how to fabricate all that, and I just do my own thing. And that I learned a lot at that exposition, and I came back and wasn't ready to jump into it full time. So I managed to work up some blank picks. And I contracted out to a company across the river in Davenport, Iowa, to put my logo on them. As a matter of fact, if you can see this Last Iowa Exit logo right here.
Okay.
That's my version of a framing of my very first personalized guitar pick.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
I only had
That's
a handful
awesome.
of making half of it. So they did some screen printing for me across the river. I give them my cutout picks. They'd screen print it, and that worked out pretty good for a while. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, look, in order for us to make money on this, we've got to do, we need to do more than a couple for you. We need to do 100." So I kind of got back to the same situation where I needed to get involved with, buying 1,000 picks for someone to do that for me. So I started researching again, and kind of follow up to what I found out at the National Plastics Exposition. I ended up buying a small pad printer that was all manual, and I've since destroyed it and thrown it out. So I'd show you a photo of it, but it had a hand crank on it and a little pad and a little machine a little lever that went back and forth where I dip the pad into ink, and then I would slide over an item and dip it onto the guitar pick. And it was a long and tedious process. But that's what kind of got me going. Was I figured, look, I'll just do my own thing, and then that spawned off. I figured once I got my own thing going for my band, for my picks, I got to thinking, well, look, there's millions of guitar players out there that would rather have their name on a pick rather than having Fender or Gibson or whatever on a pick. So I put a small ad in Guitar Player magazine back in the early 90s, and it just kind of took off from there. But let me show you this here. This is actually, when I talk about pad printing with the pad, it was a tremendously tedious process, and this is actually one of my early plates that I had to make, because I had to make, when I started doing it myself, I had get the ink and do all that. And this, you probably can't tell on the photo, but this little part here is just indented a little bit.
Mhm.
And the way it works on pad printing is a kind of a knife slides across this process, and it pulls off all the ink other than what sits in that little indented area. And then a little pad comes down on top of that, lifts up, and then drops down on a pick. So if you can imagine doing that for every pick, for 100 picks or 1,000 picks, it's a pretty tedious process. But that's what got me. That was the premise of what got me into it. I couldn't find a company to sell me just a small handful, so I just kind of delved into it, and here we are 31 years later, and I'm still
Nice.
with it a much different process now. But pad printing was the initial part of it.
Well, I was going to ask you, Greg, a question about the technology from when you got into doing picks, as opposed to how it evolved and what the major changes have been. And I have no idea at that point. That would be, the ball goes to you at that point. Everything from, everything.
Yeah. Even prior to my pad printing, the big companies back then, the Fender and Gibson companies, they did the hot stamping.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bought picks in the 70s or prior, they all had that indented feel to it. And that's actually great for gripping a pick.
Yeah.
But and that also was a very, very tedious process. They'd have jigs that it would just be one at a time, just to hot stamp that down in there, whether it was a color, or the big thing back then was even foil. You'd see a lot of foil.
Yes, foil inlay,
which is a great look. It's a great look.
But it wears off very quick.
It wears off quick. Yeah, and then
Yes.
you've got the, if you're playing a gig and you get a little beer in your hands, at least you got a good grip on it. But
this is true. This is true.
But But you're right. The imprinting and all that does wear off quick. But that was kind of the predecessor to the pad printing step up for doing logos or just
let me ask you a question. This is for me personal, but I'm sure it'll go across the board. I like a pick that has a fast attack. I like for it to have some size to it and some thickness, but when it comes down to where it's going to hit that string, I want it to be beveled and sharp with a point, okay, for a fast attack. Now, the material that picks are made out of now, my biggest gripe is that, and look who I'm talking to about a guitar pick gripe, is that the tip will wear out so fast. Nylon is primarily, I believe, the material that these picks I'm using. They're Dunlop, I believe. And yeah, they are. But they wear out very fast. And I mean real fast. So my question about that is, as far as the technology of picks right now, is there a composite or a material other than titanium, aluminum, something in the metal zone that is hard and is going to stand up better for the future?
Yeah.
In picks.
I know what you mean. If you would ask Brad Gillis or folks like that, Brad uses like a metal pick. Some of these guys out there use metal picks. Brian May used a penny
coin.
or a coin
pence.
over there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the $1 million question is that's I think the trade-off. I've always specialized in celluloid.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about that, it has a nice feel. It has a nice attack.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it keeps a kind of a gritty edge on a micro level.
Yeah.
Even when it's worn, it'll still bite a little bit.
It still does. And so, I for instance, I started using those when I first started playing when I was 4 years old, and I still use my equivalent to a Fender medium. But that's the balance there. Probably any celluloid, even my heaviest, or if you get into a 1.10 or 1.20 millimeter celluloid,
Mhm.
the real stiff picks,
Mhm.
they're going to wear a little bit.
Yes.
And um,
Well, the
now,
point is, it comes to a point, no matter how thick that pick is, right at that point, there's only a very small amount that actually is going to hit the tip of that string most of the time. When you're scratching it or whatever, you're getting, the edge. But for the most part, it's a very small amount of that pick that's actually wearing,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. What I have found is some of the and they're custom injection picks, like the Dunlops.
Mhm.
And they're real heavy. They're almost like a jazz pick, the real smaller
Mhm.
ones.
Mhm.
Uh, not so much like this is a very small pick I did for an early customer when I used to do
Yeah.
the teardrops. But
Yep.
probably the best for wearing that I have found are the custom molded picks.
I got you.
Again, the trade-off there is they may not have the same kind of tonality when you're picking.
Hmm.
But they're going to last you forever, especially if you
Yes.
get a heavy one. I may have one across the room. I'll check at here in a minute. But what I have found though is, and what a lot of my customers, since I pretty well specialize in celluloid at all the
Hmm.
gauges,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
once in a while run across some sheet stock of some material that's matte finish, kind of like the Tortex, Delrin,
Hmm.
some of the
Sure.
other companies
Yeah.
manufacture. And those are good. Now the drawback to those is sometimes the imprinting wears off much quicker. So it's all kind of trade-offs on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realize the picks that I've made and sold now for 30 plus years, celluloid, some folks love them. And if you're old school, you love them. If you're an old man
Oh,
like
yeah.
me, that's
Yeah.
all you're used to. That's that's the way to go. But
Absolutely love them. The feel and everything is so awesome. And
yeah,
man, you
So,
made some picks, my man. I was looking at your. I got another question for you. I hate to hog the chat like this, but let me just ask you another one. I know you made a pick. I've read your list of who you made picks for. You made picks for the Pick of Destiny, didn't you? For
I've done
Tenacious
some
D.
spit. I've done some spit. I did some for some samples for those guys for Tenacious D and that, and then I
Yeah.
did some for John Konski, who was part of
Excellent.
the Tenacious D group for a while.
Excellent. That is so cool.
Yeah, yeah,
I saw that. I said, this guy, he made the pick. And I wanted to point that out because
yeah,
I think that
so
is just too
cool.
cool, Greg. That
yeah.
is just too
John
cool.
Konski. I don't know if you've seen those guys. If you've seen Tenacious D or any of those guys do their
Oh,
thing. I
yeah.
caught them up in
They're
Chicago
great.
like 20 plus years ago.
Oh, those
Yep.
guys are great.
Yep.
That's as good as it gets.
Yes. Yes.
And
I
then
agree.
after the show, I talked to John after the show, and then I went over to a tavern about 2 blocks away from the venue. It was at the University of Illinois Chicago campus, is where they played.
Yeah.
And what a hoot! What a hoot of a show!
That is so cool. That is so cool, Greg.
Greg, let me ask you, let's back up. So, I want to talk about the materials that these guitar picks are made of. And obviously, they're made of different materials now than they used to be made of. And I want you to, because back in the day, let me just, old school
Yep.
That's
stuff
awesome.
looked like that, and modern day stuff looks like that.
Yeah, even those, and I'll reach across here. Even those that the what they call now the pearl is really kind of a substitution for what was literally a tortoise shell back in the day when it was legal to harvest that and use that for a pick. These are straight celluloid picks as well. It's just when the sheets are made, they just kind of mix all the various colors together, and then they let it set, and it comes out looking like that. So, I mean, the material itself is just standard cellulose material, though. Much like, you know, the big rage now in the industry are the mother of pearl picks.
Mhm.
And it's the same process. Those are all made from celluloid. And the thing that's happened with celluloid the last couple of years, it's actually the same material that they used to make ping pong balls from years ago.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
And it's very, very flammable.
Yeah.
Very flammable. There was a
Yeah.
concern a couple of years ago that you know, you couldn't buy or you couldn't find any celluloid sheet stock anywhere because it had to be shipped. There were concerns about that. The source for celluloid sheets come from usually Japan or Italy, is where that comes from now. So, and now with our supply systems in the world the way they are, you know, celluloid, it might get a little tough to get a hold of. But yeah, that's and I've got some other samples here of, you know, of that kind. Yeah, here's a classic for you. There's two classics in the Tortoise line for you. I don't know if this ever made it to press or not, but this was an early version of a Cheap Trick.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
I don't know
That
if
is
those
cool.
ever made it out into the public's hands or not, but those
cool.
went to Rick, and then also another classic gentleman out there, Randy Bachman.
Wow.
Nice.
That is old school right there. That's so cool.
Yeah, and Randy, last I corresponded with him, he can't find these anywhere other than my shop. And I did these for Randy probably 25 years ago, and this is it's a heavy line, and it's just a monster pick. But that's whenever Randy got those, he loved them. He loved those guys.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
they're all just the standard celluloid. It's cellulose acetate material is the technical name for it.
I have a question. What's
Yes.
the strangest material that someone has asked you to make a pick out of, or that you've made a pick out of?
Gosh, let me. You know, once in a while, I find some sheet stock, and you may have heard this term, V resin. It's like a cheap knockoff of celluloid. Some folks out in the industry use that if they're doing novelty picks.
Okay.
If they're just doing picks for someone to hand out at a wedding or a funeral or whatever it might be. Because I've done picks for funerals actually. So and I've done picks for weddings too. And I don't mean to, Tony. I don't mean to. Once I'm going to spin off on a little topic, but I'll keep on track the best I can. Okay. Speaking of a
All
pick,
good.
and this answers two of your questions.
Sure.
This is from my wedding back in '93.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
And
Very cool.
I still, to this day, have folks walk up to me and say, "Greg, I've got that. I've got, you know, because this was setting at each station.
Sure.
Reception.
That's
Still
awesome.
folks walk up to me and say, "Greg, I've still got that guitar pick, either in my dresser or I got it in my billfold." So this, even back in '93, this was an injection molded, very, very inexpensive pick. It's not really playable. It's kind of a novelty that I worked up. Just for some
Interesting.
stuff back
That's
then.
interesting.
But yeah, anyways, I'm sorry, I kind of got off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the same year I got married too, though, Greg. I got married in '93 as well. Yeah. Good
We're
year.
still going strong. So,
Yep,
so
we
good
are
for
too.
you.
Yep.
Good for
Yep.
you.
Awesome.
Did I?
When,
Did I
Greg,
cover
when
these?
you I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Bud.
When you manufacture picks, you know, you were talking earlier about the old school method, one at a time. What's it like now? Are you more automated now, doing multiples at a time?
I
Uh,
am. I am. And let me preface this by saying, you know, that there are no trade secrets in this. You know, this is not rocket science that we do. So, I mean, if there's anyone out there that ever wants to get involved with this, I encourage you to jump on in and try this because it is a lot of fun. And there's plenty of business to go around in that. But so when I first started doing pad printing, I did that on the old manual, one at a time, put a pick into place, one at a time, take it out, look at it, make sure it looks okay.
Sure.
Put it on a drying area. I did that for, gosh, 18 years, I think. No, I'm sorry. I did it
Wow.
about 15
Wow.
years.
Wow.
And then then they had an automated process where it would lift the pad up, move it, drop it into the ink, and then scrape the ink off, drop it on the imprint or the indented area, bring it back and drop it on a pick. So at that point, you just really all you had to do was once you got your ink mixed and the hardening right and cleaned your and cleaned the pad and made the plate, which is a whole nother part of the logistics tied to this thing is because I made these plates in house. You got to expose them. You've got to. It's kind of like taking a photography thing. It's you have to harden it. You got to put it in an exposing unit. So that's a whole other logistics discussion. With making these guys.
Wow.
Then it was semi-automated. Then you just had to get the pick out, make sure the pick looked okay, kind of put it in a little jig and let the machine indent it. And I would always do a couple hits to get, because my goal was always to get a kind of a raised feel. I always like to have that. The opposite of the hot stamping process, but at least that gave you a decent grip during your third set at the local tavern, and
So when you're talking about the raise, is it from the indention on the other side that's actually pushing out on the other side?
No, it's just putting more layers of ink on top.
I got you.
it's
So we're
just
talking
a
about
pad
strictly
print
ink. I
on the
got you. I
exterior.
understand.
Yeah, so I sometimes hit it twice, even more, just to kind of get that additional level of ink for a little better feel.
I got you. And this is UV dry? Do you dry it with light or?
This was still just basically air drying for
Wow.
years on the with the pad printing. So I went a couple more years doing it with a semi-automated process. And during all this, I kept looking for technology out there, thinking there's got to be some kind of a printer that can print on plastic, and it would be, and it wouldn't be one at a time, and it wouldn't be so labor intensive. Creating plates, mixing ink, cleaning out the pad, cleaning off the ink well. It just consumed a lot of time.
I imagine keeping your work clean and to do clean work was your whole battle.
It was because you get a little dirt on the pads or you get a little dirt in the ink, and then as the top of these plates would get scraped off with a blade, then it would drag a little particle of dust across there and the plate.
Sure. Yeah.
So then, kind of moving forward, and there's a couple more phases that are key to this whole process that got me where I am today. Then it got into what they call direct ink, and that's where it was just like a small desktop printer. Where it would lay the ink on the pick, and it would be flush, and it would dry within seconds. And with that, then I ended up making a little jig that held 16 picks that I could. I used a Corel Draw package. I'd do the artwork that good folks like Sander would send to me. Kind of tweak it. I would size it down to, now get this, I would size it down so it fit in a circle of 0.821 of an inch. I had it so exact, so I knew what I could maximize for filling the pick.
Wow.
That was always my key. I had to get it down to a circle that was 0.821.
Wow. That's not a big circle. That's not a very big circle. That's really not.
This is why my wife has said to me 100 times, Greg, I don't know how and why you've ever made it through doing this. I mean, she's probably said that 1,000 times. And I'm like, Debbie, I just like doing it. I like.
Well, so your production went from one at a time to essentially 16 at a time. So you went from a 1 to a 16 to 1 ratio.
Yep.
That's a huge leap. That's a huge leap.
Yeah. Once I lay it out in the Corel Draw, I do a couple tests on a single one, kind of lay it all out in the Corel Draw template.
There you go.
And then I would feed that into my to the system, and a couple of tweaks to get them lined up properly. But at least then I had a standard layout. Whereas if I got a repeat order, I had my file saved. I had my jigs set up, and it just simplified things exponentially.
Imagine it.
I did that for years. That was also kind of high maintenance because for the ability for the ink to dry so quickly, that also meant it dried quickly in the print head.
Excellent.
So just a lot of maintenance on the printer, always trying to flush the printer out, and again, what it did not offer me was any kind of a raised print. I mean, it had exceptional quality.
I bet it was crisp and clean and
It
just
was.
yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and the other thing, it was multicolor. Because
Oh,
for
that's
pad
cool.
printing,
Absolutely.
you can do it multicolor, but that's a whole different animal.
Sure.
So I got this direct ink system working, and I'm like, this is beautiful, except for some maintenance. And then a couple years into that, as a matter of fact, I stumbled on that company. My in-laws live in Rochester, New York, and at that point in time, that company was based out of Rochester, so it was all kind of a lucky turn of events. At that point, then and what's big in the industry now is the UV ink, the UV LED ink process.
Yes.
And that revolutionized everything for not just guitars, but for imprinting on anything out there. My process is still the same. I get a logo from good folks like Sandra. I kind of size it down. I pull it into my Corel Draw. I then kind of tweak the layout a little bit, run it, kind of size it and run it and tweak the ink mixture a little bit with the CMYK or red, green, blue layouts, and then the only other interim step that's introduced now with the UV LED systems is there's an interim software. They usually call it like a RIP software. And that gives you just more control on how much of a different color you can use. But what that is, it's just opened everything up. It's still a very long process. It's still very tedious, and I still pay. I agonize over getting, and hopefully Tony can attest to this. I agonize to get my imprints the sized right, and be consistent on the layout of printing. So now I can print 35 with my new jig. I can print 35 at a time.
Oh, that's super cool. Very cool.
So it's I mean, that helps substantially. A lot of my business is for just guitar players like me. They just need to grow some picks, and that was kind of my niche getting into it back in the day. A lot of guitar players, they didn't need 3,000 guitar picks. They wanted to buy a gross of picks and be done with it for a lifetime or something.
Greg, you can't possibly be doing all this yourself. You had to incorporate other people to help you get your volume done, right?
Well,
when did that great problem actually rear its ugly head?
Yeah, and throughout all this, I was working for the Defense Department. I was a federal employee, and I was working, a lot of hours a week, up to 50 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home and I'd run to my shop, or for a while I did it in my basement. But I usually rent a shop to kind of get a little separation from my wife, who never did really appreciate all of it.
Sure.
And to hear.
Listen, Greg, she's the reason you haven't gone crazy. Okay, let's just put that out there.
It's just a labor of love, so still it takes. It's a much quicker process especially on repeat orders. Once I've gone through the legwork of tweaking the artwork, getting it laid out properly, doing a couple test runs of the 35. The other thing that Direct Ink did not offer that now is much easier to work with is white ink or printing lighter colors on dark material. Because with the Direct Ink process for those couple of years, for that interim, I couldn't really print on any dark picks.
Really?
It wouldn't print white and it wouldn't print gold or silver. Wow. Whereas now with the UV LED process, if you're the white looks great on that. I can do white on a tortoise shell, or I showed here's here's the Black Oak, Arkansas logo.
That is a great pick right there.
With Ricky Lee Reynolds, who unfortunately just passed here not long ago. And I could talk for hours about Ricky and his stories that he shared with me too. But now doing white ink is much. It's night and day. It's much easier. And then what's to do a colored ink like a gold ink or silver or a lighter color ink on a black pick. What I have to do is lay down a layer of white ink and then run it again with the actual color, and then it shows up really, really nicely.
So it's a direct overlay of the pattern.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Does that also give you any buildup?
It does. And the beauty with the UV LED printers, again, you can control through that interim rip software that it's called. You can lay down pretty heavy layers. For example, they use it for Braille.
Oh, really? I was going
to
to ask you about that.
Yep, it's used for a lot of the Braille requirements. So it's just really opened the door for a whole new world, and still kind of a maintenance challenge, but it's a lot easier than the bad old days. So anyone who's there are some new entries in the business now, and they don't have an appreciation for how it was in the bad old days, and I don't have an appreciation for how it was in the hot stamping days. And they can probably the folks who worked at DeAndrea 40, 50 years ago could probably tell you some horror stories then too. Because
you could literally get burned. Wow.
As a matter of fact, Gibson used to have a factory up in Elgin, Illinois. And I hooked up with the guy who ran that, and he let me tour it one time. And they showed me their old jigs for making the picks, the cutting and the crumbling of picks.
Wow.
And for their imprinting. And it was like from 100 years ago. It was.
Wow.
It
wow.
was just amazing.
That is so cool.
So very, very good question to kind of go back in the history of that. So, my 31-year run at this, there's been tremendous technical leaps on this, and then to go back, it's just incredible what they had to go through. So if you find some old classic picks from the 70s or 80s, prior to my getting into it in the late 80s, it's like when you look at these things, you just have an appreciation for what went into it. Now, even for today, when I print a pick, I probably touch it 12 times before it leaves my shop. When I did these gems for you, Tony, I mean, I eyeball the picks, make sure that there's that the when they come out of the tumbler net, and I'll get into that a little later. I partnered with a company to do that with me, which leads into your other part of your question. I look at these things probably a dozen times before they go in that little baggie to get shipped. So
is the tumbler you're talking about, is that for drying?
It is the process that's used for celluloid, and even for Delrin and anything that's not injection molded. It's really just sheet stock, and it's just a cut and tumble. They'll literally with a press cut out that layer of a pick, and then it goes into like a rock tumbler.
And that takes all the edges off, essentially.
It takes the edges, gives it a nice
and polishes it. They'll it'll be almost like rock tumbling.
It is. It's
rock polishing.
Just at a larger scale.
Interesting.
And that part, I
didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was not even aware that even happened.
Yeah. Wow. You could probably tell if you find some really cheap picks out there in the industry, off eBay or anywhere that are really cheap, and you get those in hand, you would know right away, Charles, or anyone out there who knows guitar picks and has held a pick, you will know right away if that thing was just cut and thrown in a bag and shipped, or whether it was tumbled, because the edges are raw.
Right.
It's just not a quality pick.
I remember. I'll tell you a story. It was about. It's been like 10 or 12 years, and I was at somebody's house. We were playing guitar, and I think I chipped the end off of a pick, and I was like, man, I don't have another pick. And he goes, don't worry about it, man. I got this. And he goes over his dresser, he pulls it out, and he pulls out this little, like a punch almost like a stapler kind of a deal.
Yep.
And he pulls out a piece of plastic and he stamps it out and he goes, there you go, man, you got to pick. And I picked it up and I remember the first thing I said to myself was, this is horrible. It looks good, but this is terrible. The edges were sharp and it just didn't play right, didn't roll off the strings correctly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is exactly. And those kind of hand punches, you can get them off. Now they're since I'm on a lot of pages and that, once in a while I'll see an ad pop up that has that. Or I've had folks ask me, Greg, is this how you do it? Like,
Greg, they really only work for softer material, not a good hard composition,
Right.
Which you need. You got to have something that's got structure to it, or it's just going to wear out. Although some guys like the softer material, they do, and it has application for specific things and specific strings and specific music.
I think those are just for novelty picks there too. If someone wants to do something, but I've seen that hand unit that's floating around out there. They probably sell a bunch of them. But, that's 4 years. So for a while back in the 90s, mid 90s, I did hire in some local college help. And what I would do at that point, I would still do the plate work. I would do all the customer interaction, do the shipping, and I would prep everything, and then they'd come in and sit there for 2 or 3 hours or more, and start things up and put a pick in, take it out, and work out that. And that was for some of when I started to get some of the bigger orders. Even though my niche was the small one gross. The low volume, highest quality picks. I found myself taking on. I love what I do. I loved what I was doing for my career, and I love being. And then I'm trying to be a married man and a family man, and I'm trying to find a good balance there. And so I did bring in some help for a while, but I would go down to my pick shop. I'm physically sitting in a place in a city called Milan, Illinois, but I used to have my shop in Davenport, Iowa, and I would bring in college help, and I'd go there and get everything set up.
Sure.
And it would all lined with all the pad print right and the jig right and all the picks laying there and the ink was all ready to go. And they'd come in and they do the heavy lifting, I guess.
There you go. Well, I would imagine if you've got to produce a couple of orders, even 5 or 6 orders, that's nothing compared to when you got popular. And once you established your name and people were coming to you, it would be very easy for you to be overwhelmed. And you'd have to take the helm on your company. You obviously did it correctly.
I tried to find a good balance. I fell down a few times, and that's, and I'll say it once again. That's my wife just said, "What, Greg? What are you doing, man?" I mean, I could give a lot of examples, but I'll give you one quick one. I took on a contract by a company called Voyetra, which they made music MIDI equipment back in the 90s.
Okay.
And they were getting geared up for a production run for Christmas. And they said, Greg, can you give me, I need 3 color picks. I need 3 of them, and I need them all bagged, and I need high quantities, and I need them stat. I need them yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, I got you covered, right?
Excellent.
So I took that on, and at one point I had my mother and father bagging these things for me. I got home from work after a 10-hour day.
Excellent.
Run back to my shop and then run a couple of picks, bag them up, and try to get to the UPS store by 8:00. It was just it was insane.
Excellent.
So, but I hung with it, and it all worked.
Good problems to have, though. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's what I the other trade-off there was when I started getting the large orders from the national artists, or the commercial companies. Like one of my early one was Celestion. I had to do a bunch of picks for Celestion for the NAMM show one year. I didn't want to turn them down.
Right.
No. And I'm not going to turn down. I'll kind of get into this later if you want to, Tony. But I mean, I can say my story when when the damn Yankees wanted guitar picks. Ted Nugent, Tommy Shaw.
Well, let me ask you this though, Greg. So how we all see who you've made guitar picks for, Styx, Nugent, the list is huge. Rush,
The list is monstrous.
How do you
Ridiculous.
make picks for all these major artists? Where did that start at? I mean,
Well,
who was your first one?
my very first major artist, and he was a guitar hero of mine, being a guitarist, was Pat Travers.
Nice.
Pat, if you're familiar with Pat's background, Pat was a guitar hero in the late
Mhm.
70s.
Yep.
There was an album called "Go for What You Know," "Heat in the Street," and "Life in London," and "Go for What You Know." I mean, Pat was just a huge guitar player. He had a guy named Pat Thrall playing guitar with him. He had a bass player named Mars Cowling,
Mhm.
unbelievable bass player.
Yep.
And I somehow I got hooked up with Pat's manager, and Pat, I think it was a Saturday night. I was having a card game at my house for some reason in the early '90s. Before I got married in '93, I had a card game at my house when I was still a solo man. And on Saturday night, I get a call from, Steve, something Welsh, and he said, "Hey, look, I got your name. I'm working with Pat Travers. We need some picks." Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, yeah." I told the guys, "Hey, deal me out. I'm talking business here."
Yeah.
And I got going with Pat, and
Nice.
Nice.
Pat loved these
Cool.
pink picks. And so, but that was, early '90s with Pat Travers, and I'm like, that was the coolest thing ever. And then you probably can't see it, but then I start to show up on Pat Travers' liner notes. I'm like, man, I've made it.
Yeah.
There you go.
That album
Yep.
cover, yep.
Pat's mentioning legend picks and mentioning Greg Collins and
That's awesome.
before liner notes were a mile long like they are now. I'm like, gee, that's as good as it gets.
Yes.
And then I'll tell you, and I don't want to bore you all, but and please,
no.
Tony, as a writer, you cut me off if I get too far into a topic and you want to move on to the next one.
No.
But let me tell
No.
you my story about damn Yankees: Ted Nugent, Tommy Shaw, and Jack Blades. And this is a classic story about networking and just getting out there, no matter what it is you're doing, guitar picks or dating or looking for a job or whatever it is. Late 1992, a buddy of mine had just lost his job, and he was kind of bummed. And I said, "Look, the damn Yankees are playing up in Cedar Rapids, about an hour and a half away from our area. Let's grab our ladies. Let's go out and have a few drinks. Let's go catch a show." So we go up to that show in Cedar Rapids, and Damn Yankees was the opening act for it. I don't know if it was Bad Company.
Bad Company. I saw
Bad
that
Company
tour,
for a while. They also opened for Poison back around that time frame.
Yeah.
But so after the show, and they were playing in a big arena, so we were on the upper kind of the next tier up. I walked over on stage right, and I said I made eye contact with the guitar tech. I said, "Hey, throw me a couple of guitar picks. I'm in the business, And he did. He threw me a couple of picks up, and I got them. A couple of Ted Nugent picks,
Nice.
Tommy Shaw pick, and I'm like, that's cool. Well, so that's late '92. In January of '93, I'm out at the NAMM show, and if you're not familiar with NAMM, it's the big music merchants.
Right.
National Association of Music Merchants, and they have a huge convention in Anaheim, California, every January. And it is where all the music makers go from all over the world, and they have all their endorsers are there, and it's just a big circus of tens and tens and tens of thousands of people walking around. It's just kind of controlled chaos. But I'm walking through there, and I had to take pics out to Celestion for their booth, and some other folks as well. And I'm walking through there, tens and tens of thousands of people in this big convention hall. And I walk right by the guitar tech for the damn Yankees. And his name is Mark Newman. And Mark, coincidentally, Mark now is, and he's one, and he's right when he says this, he's one of the top 10 techs out there in the world right now. Right now he's out with Rush. I'm sorry, not Rush. He's out with Kiss.
Right.
Mark's a tall guy. If you ever see him, I mean, he's been with everybody. He's been with Prince. He's been with ZZ Top. He has been around the business. He was an early guy in Night Rangers days.
Nice.
Real tall guy. I walked right by him and I stopped for a second. I'm like, that was the guitar tech for the damn Yankees. So I turned around and I kind of chased him down. I said, excuse me, sir. I don't mean to bother you. You threw me some guitar picks at a show a couple months ago. I mean, I'm in the business. I would love to do some samples for for the guys. And so he said, yeah, let's do that. So I gave him my contact information. I didn't ask for his. I gave him mine, and I said, give me a call. I'll just do some samples. If you love them, great. If you hate them, that's okay. And we went about our way, and I'm like, I will never hear from this guy. There's no way I'm going to hear from this gentleman at all. This Mark Newman. And I'll be darned if he didn't call me and said, Greg, let's do a batch. So
Nice.
I said,
That's awesome.
Do you have some artwork? Do you have signatures? So he mailed me. That was back, he physically mailed me some signatures of the guys. I had some artwork for him. If you ever see it, it's an early damn Yankees logo. I don't have one right in front of me now, but it has a circle around it. It was kind of rough. It wasn't my best product, but it was the best product I could make at the time with the artwork I had available. I sent those off. And again, I'm like, I am never going to hear from this guy. There is no way I'm going to hear from this gentleman. And I get a call and he says, Greg, the guys love him. Let's do a run.
That's great.
That's awesome. I just was floored. So that led to a long-term thing with Ted Nugent and his folks. And I did a lot of stuff for Ted over the years. There's various samples of my picks with Ted.
Yeah, and Derek St. Holmes. Derek St. Holmes as well, right?
Yep, Derek St. Holmes. And Derek, we were talking earlier about the shell. Derek used shell picks for quite a while, or the tortoise shell look. Mm-hmm. And then I did a lot of stuff for Ted. I'd go up to Chicago and I, also a guy named Dean Mitchell, if you've ever heard of him. He's not in the business now. He makes cases, but he was a tech with Ted back then. And Ted, he loved the picks, and we had a great run.
Very cool.
Tommy Shaw did some stuff back then. I did for him. He did some solo acoustic shows with Jack Blades. Oh, and I did some. Oh, I get excited about this. Excuse me. I did some thumb picks for Jack Blades with his signature on them.
That's cool. That is
cool.
I managed to get that stuff worked up, and I did some. We didn't do a lot. He didn't throw them out, but we did some thumb picks for Jack. So Tommy Shaw, he did some acoustic shows with Jack, and I did their stuff back in the day. And then I'm kind of on a roll here. Let me tell you about my Styx connection, Tony, if I can. Please.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So Styx those were my guys. My very first concert in January of '77 was Styx headlining and ARS, the Atlanta Rhythm Section, opening up in Davenport, Iowa. So Styx were my very first concert. Mm-hmm. And they were, when I was in high school, those guys, I mean, they were everything. I loved their music. They were Chicago guys, so they weren't that far away with their bass, cool. They were just it to me. And I've always been a huge fan of theirs. And so when they got together in '96 to remake Lady and then test the waters for other things, a guy named Keith Marks, who would also, he's one of the top production guys. He's kind of semi-retired now, but he was out with all kinds of folks in the day, and just an exceptional guy. And I owe him a lot, as I owe Mark, and I owe another guy I'll talk about in a minute, Jimmy Johnson. Keith called me and said, Greg, the guys in Styx are getting together. They're rehearsing now. They need picks, and Tommy says, you're our guy.
That's so cool.
I'm like,
that's great.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, were you involved in the on the Return to Paradise Theater with Styx? Is that the '96 thing you're talking about?
It is. Yes.
That's awesome.
Wow, those are really cool picks.
Yeah. Oh, we had great picks back then. And so Keith called me, and I said, Keith, I went through the same question I asked Mark Newman. I said, do you have any artwork? And he says, He said, no, but come on up. We're rehearsing, and north up just outside Chicago. We'll look through our stuff and we'll find you some artwork, and we'll get you JY's signature and Chuck's signature, their bass player, and all this. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. So,
Yeah, nice.
So long story short, that's what kind of got hooked up with Tommy first in Damn Yankees, but then the Sticks, and they're still going strong. And I bet I have done. If any of the Sticks techs see this on YouTube later, you can validate this. I bet I've done 500,000 picks for those guys.
Wow.
I mean, they just and they're still going strong. They're out there. I shipped a batch to them a couple weeks ago. They're out there playing it now. But for me to get that in my and then to be on the liner notes for that Return to Paradise CD album when it came out, which is in my basement at home. But that just kind of, I'm like,
that's cool.
That is so cool.
I don't brag about my stuff. I'm a low key guy. I love this pick stuff, but once in a while I look at the list of folks that I do picks for, and I'm like,
well, and if anyone doesn't know, Dean Mitchell is Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins' right-hand man. He's been the stage manager for like 30 years, and he's the only one Billy trusts with his guitars. And Billy is notoriously fanatical about his guitars.
Yep.
And Jimmy Johnson, if you don't know, before he was with Styx, was pretty much the only guy that Alex Lifeson trusted with his guitars.
Yep.
So these are like the biggest of the big.
Oh yeah,
those are the big guys. You know the business. Thank you, Tom, for jumping in there. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson.
I'm into the nerd side of it.
yeah. Jimmy was with the early days of with Rush, and we lost
Jimmy like all the old pictures with him.
Yep. We lost Jimmy a couple years ago. That was unfortunate. I just saw him in Peoria not long before he passed. But Jimmy. Yeah, he was all that early Rush stuff, and
that's my band.
Jimmy's connection with Rush, is that they were looking to take him on the road, to Jimmy on the road, and Jimmy, and I don't want to, Jimmy, if I say this wrong, jump down on me in that, but Jimmy was the one who got Neil Peart into that band. Jimmy said, "Look, I'll go out, but only if you bring Neil along."
Oh wow.
Oh man!
I mean, how's that for a connection?
Wow!
Well, I mean, they always said about Jimmy too. If they weren't working with him, they'd just find a reason to bring him along to hang out. That's what it was. You know.
He was such a nice guy. He was such a nice guy.
And Alex described him by one word. He called him a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yep. Jimmy Jimmy had worked for other folks throughout. Some one-offs here and there. He was just and he loved what he was so good at it. He was so well known. And then he has a side gig with his Gorgomite product. If you're familiar with that, it's a if you're not, it's a fret cleaner. That
the product. Yeah, I thought you meant a band name that.
Yeah. Jimmy's just such a nice guy. And
I mean, not enough to be an amazing tech, but to be an inventor too.
Yeah. So you're right. Jimmy, you got Mark Newman, you got Dean Mitchell, and I don't. There's no disrespect to the other folks that I've worked with over the years out there and still work with. Greg Mandelke, the current tech with he's JY's tech with Styx, another exceptional guy. That Keith Marks, and Keith was kind of a production guy, but he was a guitar player, and he'd do some tech work himself if needed. But Greg Mandelke, another guy, and there's just They're all just top notch.
It's amazing how many techs are like, well, if so and so happens to not be able to make it because their wife has a kid, I can fill in on bass or guitar or drums.
Yeah.
Greg, we have a question for you right there.
Oh yeah.
Who have you made the most for?
That's definitely Styx. That is Styx. And someday I need to go through and count up my my numbers. But I mean, there were some years. It's thousands and thousands and thousands. They played, as a matter of fact, here's an example. They played in Davenport, Iowa 6 years ago at our Mississippi Valley Fair. And I went over there, and my uncle was a huge fan, and I took my son along, tried to get him interested in Styx. But I remember walking in with 2 big bags of picks, and this was between stuff for sticks and what they call the Rock to the Rescue, which is their a side project they have for donations. I had 13,000 picks in my hands, taken to those guys. So definitely, it's definitely sticks. I
can't even imagine 13,000 picks, Greg.
It was 2 large bags of, and then there was half dozen bags in each one of the separate picks for each one. But
I know what a gross looks like. That must have. What did it weigh?
It was a monster.
Oh,
And that was my largest. That's my largest. I always kind of feel like a drug dealer too. I'm walking in with this. This is gross. I walked in. I walked in to see Pat Travers here. If we used to go and I reach in my coat pocket and I pull out a bag and give it to him. It's like a drug deal thing there.
That's right.
So cool.
But but other big quantities. I do from a commercial perspective. I do picks for the antique archaeology, the American pickers. If they've got shops up the river in LeClaire, Iowa, and then one out of Nashville. And so if you go to their counter when you're checking out buying their swag down there or up the river, they've got.
I watched that show.
Yeah, it's a great show to watch. But they've got.
Yeah.
So and they go through a lot of picks from a commercial perspective there as well. But I can't leave this guy off.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've done work for Rick, and of course with Dean Mitchell was cool. Rick's tech for a while too. But I did this batch was for Rick. He had kind of a memorabilia show out of a museum up in Rockford a number of years ago. I'm sorry, I got up on it. That's a long
answer. Not at all.
We love tangents.
Hey, let me give a shout out real quick. I meant to do it earlier. Mike Neese, it's good to see you, my brother. We got the Axe in the chat, and then Mitch Heyman is also in here. It's good to see you, Mitch, too, brother.
Welcome. Nice to see you guys.
Quentin James wants to know, Greg, were his picks the greatest picks Greg has ever made?
You hate to play favorites, but yes, those
absolutely.
were absolutely. And I've got to say, so Quentin, I see you on here.
There you go. That's his.
Quentin, first off, thank you for that. I try to keep my picks PG or R rated. So I don't know if you with the V or the U in your phrasing there, if that was intended to be a V. I took it that way, so it wasn't really a cuss word, was it?
He doesn't like that already. Yeah, no, he spells it like that already.
Yeah.
He always spells with a V.
That was a great batch. So I've got to give a shout out to you, Tony, and whoever else was involved with that. Passing. I had Quentin, and then you mentioned David earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I did some picks for the guitar hack picks for him. So I'm honored to have been brought into your group of fine folks here. But thank you, Quentin. Thank you.
Well, I was amazed at the detail too, because Quentin sent me one of these, and you guys probably can't see it from here, but let me see if I can get it.
There you go.
It's a regular size pick, and look at the detail. And it doesn't even really show on camera. Like, you can see the clouds in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you can.
I run those at a very high resolution.
Yeah, it is.
And so it takes extra time, but that's the trade-off that I want to have for the customers, and especially when you get a logo like
you
that.
said, it gives you on the side with the lettering. It really is good, because I have hand damage from an accident, and it's just enough grip where it's not sticky, but it's not going to slip out of your hand.
Yep.
No.
Yep. Well, good. So I kind of got off track there. I apologize, Tony. That
problem.
Wraps up my stick story. But that is just a classic lesson in networking. that I share with folks that, you just never know where you're, what you're doing or what you're looking for, or just to get out there and network, and you never know where it will lead. Like with that damn Yankees thing, and then leading on to Ted Nugent solo and Styx and that. So
There's a
yeah.
question for you, Greg. A little off base, but it gives us a chance to know you a little better. You took formal guitar lessons from the age of 4.
I did.
4 years old. Classical, is that correct?
Well, I started playing classical later. I took classical lessons in college, but my folks
wow.
and I bless them. They for some reason got me involved with lessons at age 4, and I wasn't the best student, and I kept taking lessons all through since I was 15.
I can't imagine having the patience to teach a 4-year-old how to play guitar,
Yeah,
much less
yeah.
a 4-year-old learning. But the thing that was
I don't-
cool that I noticed about your story, Greg, is by the age of 18, you were in the clubs. So my question is, what area of clubs were you playing? Was it from what your hometown?
yeah. It's
What kind of band were you in, and what kind of music were you playing?
okay. Here, let me answer that. I'll kind of give you the whole story leading up to it. Okay. So I started
Awesome.
at 4.
Yeah.
I took them continuously, and I wasn't always the best student, but I took continuously through when I was age 15. And when I first started taking it so I should be a lot better than I actually am. But and a lot of that was, the technical part of it. I mean, going through back then the Mel Bay books, and there were a couple, standard books that everyone took from back then.
Yep.
And I took from various people, but my very first lesson when I was 4 was at a place called Bowlby Music House in downtown.
And you remember
Rock
this? You actually remember this?
Yeah, downtown Rock Island. I don't remember my very first instructor, but I remember my second instructor was a guy named Ray Flanagan, who also taught me cello in 6th grade in Rock Island.
Wow.
But the catch there is, so I was 5th, and then I went on to take lessons from a lady named Arlene Bolas, who was a neighbor of mine. And she was a fantastic guitar player, and she taught many, many people who have gone on to do great, great things, not just locally, but throughout the states.
Did all your teachers have specific, different styles, or were they all kind of the similar?
They were all kind of similar back then. It was all mostly sight reading, technical part.
Yeah,
And
I was going to ask you. You had to learn theory, period.
Yep.
Lots and lots of that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I was never a flashy guitar player, but I was technically very sound, but I was never very flashy on a stage. So my instructor then, when I was 15, said, "Greg, you need to get into teaching." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." I trusted her, and she was kind of a music mentor to me, and I started teaching at my home. Next thing, I started teaching at Bowlby Music House in Rock Island, where I took my first lesson.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's cool.
She was close with that gentleman named Dale Johnson, who owned that, brought me in. I got teaching down there. So I taught through high school, and then I taught through college. And then in the mix of that, though, I took classical guitar lessons through college. I'm kind of a finger picker. I love finger picking.
Okay.
Jim Croce stuff. I play a lot of Jim Croce. I'm a 70s. I'm stuck in the 70s classic.
My brother's the same way. There's nothing wrong with that, bro. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I like the Jim Croce finger picking and classical stuff.
Sure.
So I was a bunch of buddies of mine were playing in a just rehearsing this, get a few Pony Miller lights back in the day, 7-ounce Miller lights back in the 78, 79 time frame, and jam up to this guy's bedroom. And these guys who were a little older than me came down one time and watched this and said, "Greg, you need to come join us and join our they were a wedding band, and they needed a lead player." I'm like, "Well, okay, I'll try it out." So
that's cool. That's cool.
Played my first gig with them when I was 18 in a bar. I was underage in Moline, Illinois. And then I just played. We did wedding gigs, and we did the corner bars. It was I never really broke out of the small bar gig thing.
I got you.
That's
nothing wrong with a small bar gig. Nothing wrong with that, brother. Not at all.
So I did that for a year, and that was that same kind of band that we went through a lot of different names. That was that same band that ultimately we ended up calling ourselves Last Iowa Exit.
Excellent.
Which a guy named Paul
Excellent.
Dingledine named because going across the Mississippi River, there's literally a sign that says Last Iowa Exit. So
That's cool.
But yeah, so I don't gig much anymore. I'm sitting in my rehearsal studio, which I hate to change the camera. Maybe before we close out here, I'll turn the camera around. But I'm facing my Marshall half stack, and I've got a Roland JC60 I bought in '77.
Nice.
And
Awesome.
so yeah, so but
nice.
My
Nice.
folks not only got me going at age 4, but in 1976, 77, they bought me this Roland JC60 amp, and they bought me a Les Paul Deluxe.
Wow.
And I will never. I still am in awe that they did that. For I was just a little,
Wow.
little guitar playing, guy trying to get along, and they really going to buy me a Les Paul Deluxe.
That is so cool.
It was,
that is so cool.
I had a lot of good support. I had support that helped me through and encouraged me, even though I wasn't the best student. They kept going, and it paid off. And that
Excellent.
in essence got into the pick thing, and that's why we're talking about it today. So I've been I've worked hard at it, but I've been pretty lucky. That's what it really comes down to,
That is so cool, Greg.
If you enjoy what you do, it's not really work, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. That's why when I finish with you good folks, I'm going next door to my pick shop, and I'll be there till midnight. So
I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer in luck, but I believe that luck, is when your preparation meets your opportunity that's in front of you.
Yeah. You can make your own. You can make your own luck.
My wife says that you make your own luck, and that.
But I'm gonna be.
A lot of mine was just luck. I can't take credit for a lot of it, but
I am gonna be contacting you, Greg, because I build cigar box guitars, so like that's my logo. So
okay.
I'll definitely be contacting you because I want to have some picks made. So
yeah, I'd be honored to do them for you. And
that'd be awesome.
I'll definitely worked up and
absolutely. But yeah, I've been meaning to do that since Tony showed the ones that you did for Halenville. They're awesome, and so
they're so excellent.
So I definitely need to get some Greg Collins picks.
I'm honored. I'm honored to work with you.
That'd be awesome.
All my clients. I just have so much fun interacting with people. People call me about picks, and we'll talk for half an hour about music or something.
Yeah.
That's.
Are we going to go from cigar box to unbox?
Let's go to unbox. There's some unboxing.
Yeah, let's have some fun, Greg. A couple of these guys have some cool unboxings.
Okay.
That they were saving for tonight. So, which one of you guys has an unboxing? You, Charles?
No, I'm good for now, guys.
Tommy?
I did mine. Remember?
I think everybody did theirs. Oh, Chris, CK's got one.
Analog's
got one.
All right.
Analog's got one.
Analog Kid's got one.
There he is.
Ready?
Gotta open it up.
Looks like it's a fair warning shirt.
Open it up. Take it out of the plastic.
Yeah, you can take it out of the plastic. You're allowed.
Unfold it.
Flag?
Looks like a banner. Is that a banner?
Banner?
Oh, check that out.
Oh, that is killer.
Oh, I'm jealous. That's nice.
I'm jealous, man.
Dude. Step back and hold it up.
Oh man.
Oh, that is so cool.
That's awesome, man.
Look at that.
And it's
nice.
got the hole, the grommets in it. So
Cool.
Nice.
My favorite VH album, my favorite Van Halen album cover. My
That's
favorite Van Halen song.
Excellent. Excellent.
Sweet. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, dude. Look good right behind you, too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'll have to find a
Tom Quentin wants his picks back. I don't think that's happening.
Got that William, how do you say his last name? Kurelik artwork.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, dude.
That's cool.
He wants his picks back now. Top.
Good luck. You have to go drive up and get them.
So, are we gonna give something away tonight? Greg, I think that you pinned our trivia question that we're gonna ask the fine folks
Oh.
Okay.
and give away a couple of guitar picks. And we've got another one in store too. Another. Let me see where these things are. Oh yes, we got a couple ready. Yeah, we do. Yeah. So.
Okay. Hey, can I just spin off on a quick following along that Van Halen, and yeah, what a favorite album in that, by the way. You see it right up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did have a chance. Some of the benefits of doing what I do. I had a chance to meet Eddie in 1999 at the NAMM show, and I gave him it was brief, and I was shaking because I'm a big fan of a lot of bands, but as far as guitar players, being a guitar player and appreciating what he did and for our playing, I was just nervous as anything talking with him. I said, I gave him a couple picks and said, sir, have your guitar tech, give me a call. And I never did hear anything back on that one. That one did go nowhere, but I met Ed at the NAMM show, and if you've seen videos, a lot of his NAMM shows he had been drinking, but I caught him at a good time.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
And one more quick, and I'm sorry, Tony, I need to hog this.
One
more story about Van Halen. This has nothing to do with guitar picks, but it has to do with inspiration, though, and it's all about Ed. So, July 16th of 1978, I went to Mississippi River Jam concert on Credit Island, Davenport, Iowa. Headlining act was Van Halen. And even me being a guitar player, I really hadn't caught on yet with Eruption and what was going on with that whole scene. But they were the opening act. Doobie Brothers headlined, ARS was there, and Journey was there with Steve Perry, who was fairly new at that point. But Van Halen opened, played for about a half an hour, and and the world was never the same. Unbelievable.
Cool.
So
very cool.
So okay, so here's my trivia question. So you kind of know my history, you know my background a little bit now. So my recommendation, I'd like to know what you think. My recommendation is for the best dollar for dollar concert out there. Well, no one's really touring a lot now, but within recent history, the best dollar for dollar concert.
There's your trivia question, kids.
And if someone gets this, I'll throw in some stuff too for you, Tony, to pass along, because this. I'll jump in on the award.
I have never wanted to be in the chat so darn bad in my whole life right now. Tom?
There's trivia. This will prove, in my guess right here, this is going to be a very hard. This is going to be a tough one.
Probably the toughest question out there.
That's currently on the road.
Kiss, damn Yankees.
Well, or has been, or was active prior to COVID hit.
Before COVID.
Yes, yeah. Let's clarify that. Yeah, so they're because I don't think they're on the road. I don't.
Is it like a double bill, or is it just one act?
A lot of answers.
You can't
Well,
ask
There's,
no more.
there's a lot of answers
No
flowing
more
in the chat right now.
You know, Tony, since this is probably a tough one, we can do that 20 question thing. So if folks want to ask a question,
No,
I'll answer.
They can
Just
just keep answering.
well,
They're yeah, a lot of guesses out there.
Someone will
Keep
get it in there.
going.
So yes, they were active. This act was active prior to COVID, and it is a when they went out as a single act.
Well said. I was
Very
worried about how you were going to word that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
A lot of guesses.
Yeah, there's a lot of guesses out there.
I love Quentin's answer.
Well, it's
Answer every time.
not you, Quentin.
I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that trivia question up there.
Okay.
Um,
If you want, Tony, I can. You know, I don't know how this works for you. If you try to close it out during the show, or if you wait till after the show, I can just throw a few little
it's
hints
no
out.
rush. It's no rush on the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, no rush. Let
Yeah,
them,
if someone puts it in there,
somebody
we'll
they'll bring it
recognize
to our attention. Sure.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's-
while you're
Can,
thinking
can
about
I
that-
ask? Can I ask you for one hint, possibly?
Yeah, that's.
And if you can't answer this, that's totally okay. Is it a band that you produce picks for?
It is. I do picks for the guitar player for this act. Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. This is a little bit like What's My Line? I swear, I wish John Mancuda was here with us right now. That would be so cool.
Getting warmer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
And
Greg.
so let me throw out, then I'll follow that up with one more tidbit. They have been active since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Active since the 80s.
Are they a British band?
No.
Oh,
Interesting.
Are they of hard rock genre?
No. They play a variety of a very wide, and check me, Tony, if I give too much. They play a very, very wide variety of music.
There's one key word that will ultimately give it away that I think you're avoiding anyway. So carry on.
While you're thinking about that, I'll share with you. I get very few. Fortunately, I get very few complaints. I've only had really one that even jumps out. One complaint about my picks, and that came from Ace Frehley.
Surprise.
Of all the people and all the situations for Ace to complain about. And as a matter of fact, I've got back in right just before April 27th of 2002, when I had a last minute call from Ace's people saying, Greg, Ace is doing a birthday bash and I need picks for it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, when do you need them? And they're like, well, I need them like tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I will do what I can to get you guitar picks. And I sent him, there were a variety of colors and just different pick colors and different ink colors. And I got them up, I got them to him okay, and they got there. And then I later found out that some of them were not exactly lined up perfectly. And he was going to call me and chew on me about some of those picks. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I tried to do my best to get you some picks overnight. And
wow.
So that wasn't a total sour issue, but I think I told him, yeah, you have Ace call me. And,
Sure.
And him told me about a couple guitar picks that weren't quite perfect. And so that was kind of a bummer, but it would have been interesting to get a cold call from Ace saying, hey, look, those picks stunk or something. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, can you tell the story? It's your most, I don't know if the word salacious, sleazy, I don't know, Skid Row and Vince Neil. Can you tell that story?
I can, and you know, to kind of preface that, and you've all been you're been around the business. You're pick collectors and musicians, and you know, uh, you probably have seen. You know, most backstage experiences are rather pretty boring. You know,
It can
everyone
be.
thinks that it's a big party back there, and it might have been back with David Lee Roth and Eddie and those guys and that every night. But usually it's pretty boring. You know, it's all business backstage, and then out front it's all a party. But and a lot of folks, you know, they don't see that, and they probably don't want to believe that it's boring back there, but it usually is. But when I was doing picks for Skid Row for a number of years, and I got to say, I mean, all the guys in the band, and this was after Sebastian left. I usually dealt with Rachel. Rachel would call me or send me an email, and you know, Rachel Bowen would say, "Greg, you know, I need some picks. I need these from myself, or you know, Scotty or someone else from the act." So Rachel was my contact, and what a tremendously nice guy. And he was always very professional and not what you would imagine with Skid Row. But
Yeah.
I saw them in Cedar Rapids. They were opening for Ted Nugent, and it was part of the Kiss farewell tour, as a matter of fact. And I can't really describe what happened in detail on Cedar Rapids, but that was you know, I should have had this answer better thought out before I put it on my it was an X-rated show backstage.
Yeah.
In their little room. I mean, you know, we're all out there chitting and chatting, and then you hear all these noises next, you know, just in the open door room next to us, and it got really pretty raunchy. But that was kind of a lead up to the next thing. That really the craziest backstage experience I've seen was in Chicago at what they used to call the World Music Theaters down off I-80 down in South Chicago. And Skid Row's on the bill, and Vince Neil was on an opening act there, and I was up there with a friend who's from Chicago. And the Skid Row party back then, I mean, they probably had 150 people back in this little room, and it was just chaos. It was just total chaos of drinking and all kinds of nonsense going back in this little room back in the side stage. And then to top that off, Vince Neil walks in, and the place just went absolutely, and he walks in by himself. And I don't know if this was, you know, during his, well, I think he's always had drinking days, but it just
got a winner.
Crazy. we got a winner?
We got a winner.
Oh, wait a minute.
Keith Campbell, brother.
Oh,
what a rocker. My goodness.
Weird Al.
Wow.
Weird Al.
Very cool. Very
Again,
cool.
that's no disrespect to the other acts that are out there, but I'm telling you, for musicianship and comedy and just plain fun, dollar for dollar, the best concert out there, and I've said this for many years, is a Weird Al show. Even if you're not into him or his parodies, if you're a fan of music and just
he's great.
He's been around for 3 decades.
I have a book. Yeah, I have a book that someone wrote about him, and it's freaking great. You know, I love it. He's amazing.
It's his guitar player. I mean, his whole backing band, fantastic. And then the antics they do throughout the show, it is just so entertaining. It's unbelievable.
That's great.
So,
yeah,
I never would have guessed that. So Christopher got
Keith Campbell got it.
Keith Campbell.
Keith Campbell got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well,
Awesome.
Tony, I that was a tough one. So if I need to throw some picks into the mixer, a special batch for that, for
tough.
Or for someone down the road, let me know, okay? Because that's admirable that got chosen. So,
well, we will mail Keith out. I think Keith has won here on the show before, but yes,
sure he has.
Keith is a guitar player too, so it will be much appreciated. Yes.
Awesome.
Keith, send me some, or if you want to send it to me directly, or send it through Tony, or have Sandra kindly work up some artwork for you. Let me know what you got, and I'll get you up a handful of picks, okay? Because that's well done.
He actually says he's seen Weird Al. He's in the chat. I'm reading it.
Oh
He's
wow,
seen
Red
Weird
Bank from
Al
'98,
live. Yeah,
Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey.
that is so
His
cool.
guitar player's great, man. Jim West.
Oh, fantastic. You know, he'll whip off the solo to Eat It, you know,
Yep.
just, you know, pretty close
Yep.
to Ed's version. And yeah, he's just very versatile. He was a Hawaiian guy, living in Hawaii. So he's big into the, you know, the Hawaiian genre of music. Just a super nice guy.
Yeah, he's like a studio level musician. That guy can play anything, and he's got to play anything because they're covering all kinds of music.
They cover it all. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are also versatile. Oh, I applaud you for picking that name out there. So
Oh, I'm a nerd about that stuff, man. I love, you know, back even before the internet, man. I was looking up, you know, like I was, you know, trying to find all the information on like Dan Hoff and Michael Landau and Lukather, and I was way into like the studio and production side of it, and always found that interesting, you know, like the Bob Clear Mountains of the world, and you know, Bob Rock and all those guys that made all these, you know, Don Landy, Ted Templeman, the people that made all these albums. You know, obviously Eddie had to play, Van Halen had to play, but so much of it, you know, the reverb on Van Halen 1, I mean.
Oh, I know. And, you know, I just in the last week been watching some of the Sunset Sound.
Aren't they great?
Videos where they pull folks in, they talk about everything from the mic setups to the interplay between songs and, you know, and you know, how David, you know, how Roth did, you know, they had to keep him around to let the guys go, but keep Roth around to finish the vocal. I mean, I love those.
Yeah.
I love those. And I'm, you know, we talk about Styx, those are my guys, but what Ed did for guitar players, I listen to his isolated tracks still, and I just sit there and my jaw drops.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable.
And the fact that in the Sunset Sound, when they were talking about the fact that most of those were first or second takes.
Yep.
Like whoa.
When he was what 20?
I mean, the 2-inch tape
when he cut those, I think 22 or 23 when he cut those. When Ed cut those songs. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's insane because he sounds so confident, which you don't hear in a lot of young players.
Yeah.
That's what's so impressive to me.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Sandra. We talked about this leading up to this show. Looking at your cover page, Greg, on your website, which is the background there behind the screens of us. We've shown your work on this show on many episodes here at Show Me Your Pick.
Okay.
You can just look at the cover, the Stick show, the Rush show, the Ted Nugent show. I mean, there is so much of your work, and still a lot of your work still yet to be shown that I recognize that I have the episodes that hadn't even happened yet. So
yeah.
And also ones you've shown on your other show, Tony, on Halenville Live.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Halen, like, as he's acquired them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes, but several episodes your work has been shown here on the show.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's a common bond for all of us, you know. Picks and talking picks and collecting picks, and it's a neat thing. It's a neat thing, you know. It really is. That's the beauty of that's the draw for when folks go to concerts.
Sure.
You know, no matter who the artist is, they throw a pick off, and it's a collecting item. It's a memory from that night, and especially the fact that your artist, you're a fan of an artist who touched that pick, used it in a song. You know, it's really it's a neat thing. It's a neat thing. The way it's all kind of developed into, you know, putting them on their mic stands, and it becomes part of the challenge of getting a front row seat or up front, or after the concert, walking around the front by the front stage, trying to find one that fell on the floor and no one found it.
Tony,
Is that?
That's Tony. Yep,
I mean, it's
100%.
You can find one stuck. You'll find one in a pile of beer or something down by front row that no one else saw when they threw it off. I know what that's like. Not just with picks, but for instance, I don't mean to keep mentioning sticks. I saw sticks in August of '78 in Davenport at an outdoor show. Tommy Shaw finished. He was playing his slide guitar on the end of the Lorelei solo. Finished his solo, threw it off. I was pretty close to the front. Some folks ahead of me bobbled it, and it fell to the floor. And I saw it shining down there, and I reached down and got it, and there was my keepsake for that August 1978 show.
Excellent.
So it is cool. It is cool. And I don't want to spin off on this too much, but what's kind of hurt the industry a little bit is counterfeit picks that are out there now. And now that, as we were discussing earlier, now it's so much easier you can buy blank picks off eBay or Amazon. You can get a bunch of blank picks, and you can find someone with a printer somewhere to mock up a Stevie Ray Vaughan pick or SRV or whatever it might be. That takes away from. It makes it more of a challenge.
But most collectors do have a keen eye for what's old and what's new.
Yeah.
And a basic history of what the picks looked like for that band in their history.
Yeah.
I think too, like someone like Tony can see the subtleties that might be lost on me, whereas like when I was looking at old strats, I could pick out the fakes or just the changed parts like in an instant. I think like for a serious collector like Tony is, they probably stand out like sore thumbs, the fake ones, right, Tony?
Well, you just have to know the history on them. He used this, and there were only so many that they can use in however long of a tour. Some of the rock bands tours we love were only for a summer. So how many bags are they going to need?
Right.
Because there's some that get a little.
Hey, Dave.
Like we did this for when Kiss was. This was an Eric Singer pick. He did it for novelties for throwing out, but some of them got a little specific. Like when Kiss back in early 2000s did some Australia picks. So sometimes they kind of specify what the area is, but I applaud all you who study the picks and have a keen eye for knowing what's fake out there, because that's a bummer that's happened to this industry,
Hey, shout out David Nesdall is in the chat. He says hello, Greg.
Hi, David. How are you, sir?
Greg, back to Styx. What's your favorite Styx album and your favorite Styx song?
Equinox from 1975. Nice. Actually, ironically, pre-Tommy Shaw days, but either Light Up or Lorelei. Probably Lorelei.
What about Sweet Madam Blue?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, now that Midnight Ride, Sweet Madam Blue, Prelude 12, I love that whole album. As a matter of fact, I have directions to my wife when I'm buried. I have an 8-track, I have an album, I have a CD of that album to be buried with me.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
I guess you never know what media you'll need in the afterlife. I have all versions of Equinox.
There you go. Bring it with you.
Are you just missing the cassette?
Ready to go with me. So that's
great.
Greg, if you had to take one guitar pick with you, which one would it be?
Wow.
Oh, that's an easy one too. That's an easy one.
You're not supposed to do this, so
there you go.
That was a setup.
That's the right answer.
There you go.
That's the right answer.
Nice, buddy. Nice. Very nice.
I can't believe it's 20 years. My gosh.
Yeah.
Keith H asked in the chat if it's bad to keep picks in a plastic bag from the 80s. As long as they're in a cool, dry place at all times, out of sunlight, you'll always be good, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Hey, Holly.
sometimes, yeah, direct sunlight can damage it. I think what we might be seeing down the road with the UV ink, that might, I don't know yet, but time will tell if that might have any factor on some slight beveling of the pick.
Hmm.
I don't know, but the UV process, it applies the ink and then it zaps it with a strong UV light to dry and harden that quickly. I don't know what that's going to do long term for celluloid. If anything, because none of these picks from my pad printing process from you know years and years ago, um, none of them are from my pad printing
Yep.
or even my the direct ink.
It's
But I think jury's still out on the UV, what it will do to material over the span.
so they don't have any studies on that specific material because I know I worked in the dental industry for a while, and obviously they use UV lights for curing of fillings, but you're working against a surface like dentin where you're not going to damage it with a little UV light. You know what I mean? It's much
Right.
stronger, much denser. So,
Yeah.
so I wasn't sure. Is it because of the um, volatility of the material?
I think that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know what material it may or may not affect. Whether celluloid's okay over a long time. I've never seen anything happen in the short
Well, they
term.
would have to have, enough data to.
Yeah, yeah.
make
So
sense.
maybe 20 years from now, Tony, if you're still doing this 20 years from now, well, have me back. I'll put it on my calendar. We'll take a look at some
Excellent.
pics that we have in storage and check it out. But that's the only variable that I don't know. But yeah, as you mentioned, Tony, if you keep it out of direct sunlight in a baggie, that should be safe. I, I've for celluloid and probably for other material as well. So.
Wow.
I did have a guy mentioned that he had some 2011 picks that from somewhere out there that were celluloid that started to crack or got a little brittle. They were thins, but the ones that I have, um, and I've got picks going. I've got. It's difficult for me to show you this, but Tony, you saw the other day. I've got a couple display cases that have picks go back 30 years when I first started. I used to keep a sample of all the picks that I did. None of them have warped at all. So I don't know. I don't know.
That is so cool.
I have a couple of picks, my original Les Paul and my first guitar cable, and they all still work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're made right,
If they're
And the
made right.
guitar cable was not an expensive one. It was the local place called Trader Jim's Music.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, 33 years now and it still works.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah. It's
know?
good quality stuff then if it's still
Yeah.
hanging on. That's why it's that vintage, I guess is the word for that vintage stuff. Yeah, it's not only works great, but it's nice just for the memories,
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Holly, how are you? And there's David Nesdall has a question in the chat. Tony, you want to just put it up?
He's looking like he wants to order
There
some
it
new
is.
picks.
There it is.
He's going to be placing another order with you, Greg.
Oh, okay.
He's giving you a heads up, I think.
Yeah. There you go. Awesome.
For David, it was fortunate being a Canadian guy. I was on a trip. He'd sent me the what do you got there? Qatar Town Hall on the other side. Blue picks white print. I'll have to scour my stock. I sometimes am able to get some good blue stock. I don't know if I have any at this point, but I'll find out though, David. I'll make a note and find out.
Cool.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't. I hope I covered everyone's topic. I hope I didn't bore you with my. I got off on a few tangents. I hope I didn't.
No. Oh,
No.
we love that stuff.
Let me show you. I'm gonna just gonna. Well, here's some. I'll show you some of my swag. Okay, just
Absolutely.
that I'm proud of.
Let's see it.
Just a sign thing from you mentioned 96 with sticks. Here's the 96 sign from JY with their set list saying great picks. And there's some of them.
Nice.
We did black ones for there's the Return to Paradise. The lettering was pretty small in that. But that's what we did for a while on part of the run for 96.
That's
Here's
awesome.
one I got back in the good old days when we used to get we just did snail mail. So when I first did picks for Ted, we did a batch, and then I sent him some other ones, and then I get in the mail a letter from him saying, any chance you can duplicate these Fender thin picks, my logo picks, or so and so, but he said, "Happy Turkey, Greg." It was November 22nd of '93. Letter right in the. So I go to my mailbox, and there's a letter from Ted Nugent in there. I'm like, again, like.
Yeah.
That is so cool. My goodness.
Let me. I forgot. Here's a plate. It's a little different. This was when I went to the semi-automated pad printing thing, but you can see there I had a couple designs I had from some of the Sticks guys on there.
Cool.
Let me do this real quick.
Sure. Wow.
Holy moly.
This was just a portion of some early. So when I first got into it, I'd save a copy of all the picks I did. It quickly filled up one of these, and then
Greg, every one of those picks is different?
Yes.
For a different artist.
Yeah, and then here's I did a second one, and then I stopped.
My mind is blown
of what I did. So throughout on here, there's stuff from. I mean, some of these are just normal guitar players, and then where did I just see?
That's the coolest pick collage I've ever seen.
It was awesome.
Greg, can you hold them both up side by side? We'll catch us a thumbnail here for the show.
Yeah.
Charles, that's like when they show you how big the universe is. Look.
That's crazy. That's crazy, Tom.
This was just I don't know how many, how long it took to get.
That's insane.
Get them worked up, but
that's so many.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Greg, that is impressive,
I'm
man.
close and just see some of the logos a little clearer.
Oh, cool.
Oh man.
Wow.
It's just a variety of.
That's insane.
Do you have any that stand out as your favorites? Wow.
That is absolutely crazy.
He wasn't showing you the same one twice. There you go.
No. That's
wow.
impressive. That's impressive
couple
right there.
years worth of picks, and then
wow, because it looks like the colors are almost evenly spread, at least on the one on the right.
Yeah, that was probably just luck of it, but just picking out a couple here. There's April Wine. There's these the Kiss ones. There's Slaughter. One of the guys from Slaughter.
Very cool.
There's Rachel Boland from Skid Row. He on the flip side, he used to use a kind of a racing cross flag logo.
Okay.
Cool.
That's one of Rachel's picks. So there's just kind of a whole variety on there.
That's so cool, Greg.
Is that a good shot for you, or should I lean it up?
Can you lean them up?
Yeah.
It's a New Zealand Kiss pick.
There you go.
That is just amazing, Craig.
A little more. Yeah, a little more.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome.
That's great. Yep.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That is unbelievable.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice. So that's one from every job you've done, whether they're a rock star or not.
Right. Right. Probably for, I would imagine it's probably well, maybe maybe 3 years of orders in there, and then I kind of lost track, and then I just stopped doing it. So
That's crazy, Greg. That's what you call a successful business.
yeah, it's been such a fun ride. I just really enjoy it. And I still do. That's why I'll when we hang up here, I'll go next door and get right to it. So and I got
How do you have a successful business? You never stop.
Exactly. I just like it. I just really enjoy it. And and here's the thing too, and I'll give all of you a plug. I like talking about it. I like folks who like talking about it. So for me to be, now brought into your community and given the chance to meet all you good folks and chat picks, I mean, that's one of the many reasons why I do it.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That is so cool, Greg. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Greg's links are down below in the description. If you want picks made, legend picks, there are a couple of links in the description. Yes.
And my web page is, gosh, it hasn't been updated in probably, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. So it is just horribly dated. And my Facebook page, I've been trying to throw more time at that lately, but I'm embarrassed on how they both look. So they're very, very outdated. So I apologize. So
Sometimes you have to prioritize sleep, though, right?
well, that's right. Yep, got to find that balance. Yep.
I watched they were talking to Elon Musk, and they said, "Why do you sleep under your desk?" He goes, "Can't waste the time driving to and from my place."
That's right. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, he's a man, for example. Yeah, you get obsessed with things, and you just can't leave him alone.
Do you know his story? His grandfather's actually from Minnesota. His grandfather's American, and his grandfather was an adventurer, and his grandfather took them to South Africa, and his grandfather had a plane, and he flew. His grandfather holds the record as the first human being to fly solo from where they were in South Africa to Australia. And he had this little plane, and his grandfather was so much of like this adventure that he taught himself airplane mechanics, and he flew into some countries where they only had diesel, and he had to break down the engine and rebuild it to be able to fly at diesel, and then fly in a week later somewhere else, break it down and rebuild it to fly on petrol. I mean, he was just that kind of guy, and he said he's the one that made me who I am today, that made me say I can go to Mars, and like that's what I find so intriguing about him,
I'll spin off on that real quick. I walked by his dorm last week ago yesterday. My son's working on his PhD in environmental science at
awesome.
at Queen's University, which was Elon's first university before he got real serious. Went to Pennsylvania and then went to Stanford. So in his partying days, he was going to school where my son goes. He was there for the women. But my son lives 2 blocks from where his dorm was, and we walked by there, and I'm like, I was joking, because I drive a Tesla Model 3, and I'm all in with that because of the fact that he was all in going that way, and I know there's a lot of politics and stuff with all that, but he was a man obsessed with electric cars and other things, and he went all in, and I'm not a big fan that he's a multi-gazillionaire, but he's worth a lot of money.
He's liquidating all of his assets. He doesn't want to own a single item. He's even renting his residence he lives in, and in the process of selling his other 8 residences, because he's of that belief. He said, like ultimate power, ultimate access to funds, which creates free power, influence. is not healthy. It will turn me evil, he said, basically.
Yep.
And I don't want to be that person. So he's literally getting rid of everything.
Yeah.
He's going to rent one of his own Teslas, he said.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a case where, a guy is obsessed with something and just can't sleep till he gets it done. So yeah, he is.
Have you seen the truck?
It's quite a story.
Have you seen the Cybertruck, the Tesla truck?
I have. Yeah.
Take the skin alone, the aluminum, hand rolled aluminum can take a 9mm bullet straight on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had a big guy with a sledgehammer hitting it. No dents, nothing. It's, basically military grade skin on the car.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's amazing stuff. It's amazing. So. Well,
Oh, and he has a tractor trailer too coming out. Do you see that? It has 70% less frictional resistance than a traditional diesel engine.
Yeah.
So the acceleration of a traditional diesel engine, up a hill on a graph of like maybe a quarter mile, and the graph goes from here to here is like this, right?
Yeah.
His is like this. It's like 2.5 times the speed. It's insane.
Yeah, it's an interesting future ahead. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. Sorry, there's my tangent.
Love it, man. Love it. Hey, Reverend Kurt, 5150 in the chat. It's good to see you. Kurt.
Hello. So, Greg's links are down below. And while we are taking care of business, Mr. Brendan B. Squared handcrafts these lovely cigar box guitars.
Custom.
And his links are down below also.
Yep.
And you can get you one of these bad
Got one
boys.
left. One of those left.
They are a lot of fun.
Which one is left?
The fretless one.
Nice.
I'm holding it. I'm holding it right now.
Hang on.
There it is. It's still
cool.
here.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
So, but yes, I make other ones as well. So
I love that you made it aligned fretless, because although a traditional, fretless, no marker, no slot looks prettier, no.
Yeah, you kind of, at least I need reference.
I wasn't raised playing violin. I need reference. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Absolutely, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, T-Cake.
Sliding up, like an octave or something.
Yeah.
So there's just one of those striped left, but he will custom make you anything you want, striped or otherwise.
Yep.
And his links are down below or in any of these shows.
Nice.
Yes.
Now, does he come with shoes if I order him?
No, just socks. That's a great picture.
You can buy accessories separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me.
Hey,
and stuff. Yeah.
Zach Thong is in the chat. It's good to see you, Zach.
Hey, Zach. Let me show. Let me show this one more time. This has got to be the coolest guitar pick holder.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Greg doesn't know that story. We might have to keep him from that story, but so I'll tell the story anyway. All right. So Greg, there's a guy I used to work with. There's a guy I used to work with, and I don't know how I got the nickname Butt Cheeks, but he used to call me that. And and he's actually in a band. He plays in a like a thrash metal, screamy metal band. But he called me Brendan Butt Cheeks, and I liked the name. It was kind of funny, and so we kind of went with it on the show. And I actually had I had some pics made with Brendan Butt Cheeks on the back. So I wouldn't ask you to do that, but it's kind of funny, right? Here you go. But
Very cool.
So it's kind of funny.
It's 2 eggs, right? It's 2 eggs.
But so then I also got a 3D printer because I'm making some parts for my cigar box guitars, and I 3D printed a butt to hold the picks. So got some pics in there. But hey, Yeah, it's weird, but but it's funny.
But
But it's funny. Haha.
Excellent.
I didn't even know I
He-
did that, Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
But
that's
yeah.
the thing about guitar picks as well. You know, they're not just
All right.
functional items for guitar players, but business cards,
Yeah.
wedding things.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, I've done some for funerals.
Sure.
I know some guys who I wish I had some pics with my name on them back when I was in the bar scene way back 100 years ago. You meet a nice young lady, you give her a guitar pick with your name and number on it, and say, hey, there.
Yeah.
oh,
That's
there
good.
you
That
go.
is a
Better
great
than
Nice.
better than writing it on a napkin. Here's a pick with my number on
Yes.
it. You know.
That's
Right.
it.
Because folks say you never throw a guitar pick away, so it's always going to show up somewhere,
Right. Absolutely.
So
So
Carl,
let
gotta order some
That's
picks when I gotta
great.
come down to visit you.
let me ask you this, Greg. So you made some Kiss picks. We saw the Eric Singer pick.
Yep.
Did you deal with any of the other guys and their techs?
not really too much. When I did, and I didn't do kiss picks for a lot, lengthy time. It was back in about that 2001 when they were doing their farewell tour, and that's when I did the most that I did for them was on their overseas things. Let me find one here again. Yeah, like this when they like this Australia one I think I showed earlier. I'm sorry, I thought I had some here.
Hey, Tyler Thomas.
I just did some generic ones for them. There's a red imprint of them. So
Could you show us the Eric Singer pick? Do you have it with you there?
yeah,
Tyler Thomas asked that question in the chat.
yep.
Hey, Tyler Thomas.
You rock, Tyler.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second here.
Oh, you're
Let me
good,
ask
bro.
you a couple of questions while you're looking, Greg. Do are you able to print on shark fin shaped guitar picks?
I would just yes. I can do that. I would just need to kind of work up a little bit of a holding jig so I'd have it. Yeah,
Like
like
that
those, yeah.
shape.
Is that a matte finish like a Delrin pick, or is that a Tortex,
It's
or was it a polished?
88.
Oh, okay, Tortex. Yeah, yep. Uh, yes. I can print those. Like when I do odd shape picks, like when I first did this pearl one or the teardrop version years and years ago. I just need to work up a kind of a holding jig to keep it standard for placement, but I can pretty well print on any on anything. So here's
Well,
Excellent.
cool.
here's
That
this
is excellent.
Eric Singer. This was the Australia leg of that.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Let's
Thank you.
let's put this out there, Greg. I see a lot of bands as a collector. You see a lot of bands. I collect drumsticks and all kind of memorabilia, but you see a lot of drummers who obviously don't play a stringed instrument that get guitar picks with their bandmates also, like Eric Singer and whoever else, and they give these to fans or what.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I lose you, Tony?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so I'm sorry. Was your question about?
When you get orders for drummers
Oh,
who
I
get
got you.
guitar picks like Eric Singer,
Yeah,
do you get less of an order or?
I've done. I can do drumsticks with my process. I only do that for local guys that I jam with. I don't really do that for. I don't advertise that for or ordinary customers.
Mhm.
But the 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 process I've got would allow me to print on basically anything that I could. I just need to create a jig to kind of hold it in place for repeat processes to go through and keep it consistent. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did that
Cool.
answer your question, Tony? I'm sorry. I
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of dropped off on
Absolutely.
me a little bit there. Alrighty.
Yeah.
The other Kiss one was this was. I don't know if this was something that the Kiss folks just got as I don't know the timing of this, but Mark St. John Kiss pick. So it goes back
Cool.
quite a ways. But this
Wow.
was
You
as,
did those Mark St. John picks?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice.
As far as Kissel, this one keeps coming back to haunt me. This Ace Frehley one that I wanted him to call me and complain about.
So let's clear up a common myth in the Kiss guitar pick world. It was always common knowledge that when Mark St. John and then Bruce came in, that they only used one-sided Kiss logoed picks. And that's the information that we all know as collectors.
Okay.
But you're showing me one that you're saying you made for
Yes,
him back then.
yes.
That's
I mean, I didn't deal with Mark directly on that, but his folks and my source was legit back then. Um, yeah, so that's a legit pick that was ordered through their uh, through their handlers, and it went to him. So
that's good
now
information
there's a
right
lot of
there.
stories. There's a lot of story or some stories I think with Kiss, and then um, even some manufacturers that got into the pick business through the years that they would do picks for a certain artist, and then all of a sudden a batch would show up to a third party group, uh, and that's one thing that I've always stressed to any of my clients and customers that I have a strict integrity that I would never I don't even give picks away. If someone were to say, Greg, hey, look, I know I'm a fan. You do picks for so and so, and I'm a fan. They'll ask for a pick. I won't do that. I'll say, look, it would mean more to you to get it from the artists themselves. But I know, especially with Kiss, there were stories floating around the industry that bags of picks would just show up, or to
Yeah,
someone outside of the Kiss camp, or someone from the Kiss camp would offload them or something along those lines. But
yeah.
I think that happens. I don't think it happens a lot out there in business,
Eddie?
but I think it
Yeah.
does. And then those things
So
show up on eBay, and someone's trying to make a buck from them.
Mhm.
so when we see as collectors certain ones that have mistakes on them, but they still end up going out in the batches, end up in audience members' hands, and um, do, do you see that a lot out there? I've seen guitar picks that seem to have had two different bands logos on each side accidentally that the same company had made and used the same mold
Mhm.
accidentally.
Okay, okay.
Um,
I don't see that a lot, but yeah, that's like when if you find a penny that was misprinted from the Denver print or something, all of a sudden that's worth a lot of money.
yeah,
If it's like a one off,
Yeah.
um, I I I wouldn't be surprised if that happens now. And I'm not bragging about my process versus my friendly competitors, but I double check even now with running kind of a small batches at a time. I still uh, I tell my customers if you find something that was misprinted or something, let me know so I can recheck my processes and that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Especially with some of my competitors that have gotten in, the business since I did, and offer a lot of what I do. The lower quantity and high quality. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I think it's probably pretty rare, but it probably does happen.
Yeah.
Christopher Sawa asked a question. What big country artists have you made picks for?
That's an interesting question, and I have probably done picks for country artists that are pretty well known that I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of work for country artists, and I haven't really pursued that, and that's shame on me. I'm still like I said earlier, I'm stuck in the 70s. So
I hear you there, brother.
Those guys
It's all
are still
good.
touring.
Nothing wrong with that.
If their name comes across, then I know right away. But I would be challenged to even think of a real big country artist that I've done. I mean, early on, Carolyn Dawn Johnson was a
Yeah, that's one I saw on your board.
Carolyn Dawn. I did some. Let me just look through my own list real quick. Chris Cagle, he was
okay.
Yeah.
I think Chris took some time off from touring, but I knew his manager, a guy named Mike, real well through the years. Actually, Mike was a tour manager for Skid Row back 20 years ago.
Wow. Very cool, man.
I did stuff for that's not really country though. Sheryl Crow. I did stuff for Peter Stroud, who does some countryish stuff. I mean, Peter's all over the place, and he was part owner of 65 Amps for a while. And he's just, I mean, he's a studio guy, based out of
Didn't you show us a pic from Davy Jones of the Monkees?
Yeah, Davy
backstage.
Jones.
You made that pick for the Monkees?
Well, when Davy was doing his solo stuff.
I've got a few of those, dude.
Yeah, Davy.
Dude, that is so cool, though.
Yeah, Davy. Yeah, he.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do. I go across generations, but I don't. The country artists, and I'm trying to think here. Ricky Lynn Gregg was an early country artist I did. Shelley Wright, but no one, no big acts today that I'm sad to say I don't do any of those. So
that's all good, brother.
Carlene Carter, there's another country one. So I've got a couple hit and miss ones here.
There you go.
Lessler was on purpose.
Lenny Lou said she's wicked stoned, so she can't remember, but she does have one because of Fruitcake Tony.
Yeah, Lenny Lou got on.
And I can hear that in Lenny Lou's voice now since I heard her on the.
What we're talking about, Greg, is the Eddie Van Halen 1986 stuff that they varied with Zeke Clark, and they made up some, and Ed, they always teased him and called him Ed Lessler, Less, and they put Ed Lessler on the picks. Okay. I don't know how many are out there, but yeah.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Not a lot, but
Tony, that reminded me when Eddie Van Halen's last guitar tech, Tom Weber, was being interviewed recently, and he was talking about they had a problem when you were talking about the stealing groups of picks, that they had a tech that was, they would rise the riser up, or no, they would lower the drum riser, and everyone would go to dinner, and he was hanging around pretending he was messing with cables and was stealing tons of them, throwing them on eBay and making like an extra $500-600 a week. And so he went and, confronted this guy because they caught him on security cameras. So they found out who it was right away. He said, give me everything you got. This doesn't happen again, basically, or, you're going to go home, because what I told all the other guys who've been told they can't take those picks and sell them online. So you think you're going to do it and it's acceptable, but You know, I thought he was very generous. He let the guy keep his job. He said, "It's not going to happen again, is it?" I was like, "Nope."
Yeah, I remember reading about that exact story there. Yep, I think that probably goes on. Yeah, probably more than it
I
should.
think for any big time band, it probably goes on. Yeah.
Any big time, yeah. Since
What do you
since the
think,
collection
Tony?
is such a big thing, that's going like going back to when I had
It
that.
does absolutely. That last Van Halen tour, um, they Eddie has always been historically like players like Rick Nielsen, very generous to the fans with the giving of guitar picks while they're playing live. Um,
Yep.
hang on a second. Sorry, hang on. Be back.
Oh, Lenny Lou said she's still wondering if anyone won the Van Halen 3 contest when they had the special pick with the CDs. You know, that was what it
Wow.
Keith H's Van Halen pick has going down in Cabo Wabo. That's cool.
All right. I'm sorry. I had a knock at the door.
That's okay.
Sorry.
We got you, bro.
Anyway, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, I was so Weber got a email early on in that last tour that somebody either got popped in the eye with one of Eddie's picks or what, but Ed got word to stop slinging his guitar picks in the crowd. And if you watched on YouTube a lot of those shows, um, he that mic stand stayed like it the whole time. He had the one in his hand, and it seemed like he kept it the whole night. Um,
I
yeah.
think that's been a recent concern. I know that happened to the Rich Williams in Kansas. He stopped throwing out picks. He never threw a lot out, but and it wasn't because of him, but I think it was their drummer. I think Phil threw a drumstick or somehow it got thrown out.
That's always been dangerous.
It's always
It's
been
always
dangerous.
been dangerous.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that they went cold turkey with that too, with even throwing guitar picks out. So yeah, that's been happening a little bit out there as well. So right, probably what they if they have folks close to the stage, they reach down and kind of hand them to them or do a small toss, but not like they used to just flip them. There was a technique for flipping those picks.
You have to throw it flat hand. So
you got to throw it flat handed, probably. Yeah.
Well, like this, it doesn't. It goes straight. But
yeah,
Right.
I guess that only the first one or two rows gets a pick.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's how Pat Travers always was. So imagine, I don't think that Randy Bachman throws anything up, but imagine this thing flying through the air.
Oh man, yeah.
Especially if it caught you in the eye.
Or Pat Travers, this was a heavy gauge. I know he handed his out even back when he did these in the early '90s. He didn't throw them, but it could be a little dangerous out there.
Well, if you're throwing them out every night, you probably get pretty good at whipping them. You can get
There's a technique to that. Yeah, to kind of snap your finger and they go flying. So
they pick up a lot of acceleration.
Yeah.
Yep. There's bands. Some bands are really generous about it now. After each Metallica show, they hand those guys cups of guitar picks and they throw them out, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
After every show, so yeah. But there are some where there are just a few. Not all of them are like Rick Nielsen.
I know. Yeah, Rick just heaves a ton of them out there. So let me ask all of you then, what is the holy grail of picks that you're looking for, or that you've got that that you would never trade, or which ones, like with my Equinox album, which ones will you take to your grave with you that you've got? So.
I'll go first. Eddie from the first tour.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I got mine gifted to me. They're rush picks. They're wooden rush picks from the R40 tour.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they're actually Tony gave these to me, and I still can't believe it. But they're wooden ones. You know, some got the Rush logo and the Starman, and they came in this cool wooden box. And I'll never part with that. Rush is my favorite band, by the way. So.
Oh well, that's they're also as good as it gets, you know.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. So these are awesome. So yeah, those will go with me. They're definitely going with me. That's my prize pick possession right there.
What year was the first year you saw Rush?
Oh, geez, the first year that I saw Rush had to be. I'm gonna have to say probably 89, 88 or 89. I've been a fan for a long time, but 88 or 89, I saw him in Worcester at the Worcester Centrum. It was a Presto tour, so it was cool. It was amazing. Yeah.
Greg,
yes,
you're not gonna believe how many times Analog Kid there has seen Rush. We'll let him tell you.
Yeah. Go ahead, tell him.
125.
Oh my gosh! You should get some kind of a certificate for that, shouldn't you?
There's people who've seen way more than me.
He's a Rush.
I know people who've seen him over 500 times.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
I couldn't afford to see him that many times.
Did they work for the band?
No.
That's awesome.
That's like
Jimmy Johnson did, though.
Hey, Analog Kid, what's your favorite Rush song?
Song, Limelight. Favorite album, Moving Pictures.
Okay.
First tour, Signals.
Signal. Okay. Limelight. When's that? 1980 that came out.
81.
81. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving Pictures. Yeah, I saw on that tour.
Yeah, great.
They used to come through. Rush used to come through the Quad Cities, 78 time frame, and they were here every 6 months. And I saw them back, 2112 tour and all that.
Yeah.
Nice. You saw them when they were good.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was just a raw show. Just a raw show. That was before Geddy got into the keyboard stuff. Not that that was a good direction that he wanted to diversify, but that early days, they just came out, and I saw them with Pat Travers a number of times in the Quad Cities. They just came out, and it was
the first time I saw Rush was with Pat Travers as well.
Yeah.
Did you see them on the 2112 tour or the Kings tour or the Hemispheres tour?
I believe it was the Kings tour.
77?
I believe it was the Kings tour.
With the robes?
Yes.
Geddy in the white silk robe?
Yep. I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
A junior in high school. So that would have been 70. Yeah, it would have been 77. Yep.
See, I can only dream of seeing them.
So Greg.
See, Greg, I didn't see them when they were real. By the time I saw them, they were in arenas, short hair, 80s. It's not real.
Yeah, I saw it. It was like the all.
Not real. I like that.
It wasn't real, Tom.
I saw them in probably 78, so it might have been the Hemispheres tour that I.
Yeah, see, that's the real Rush.
Was
well,
a
it's like the
new,
Grateful Dead
new
after
song at that
72
time.
to 74. Forget it. They're done.
Yeah.
I like
Greg, you saw the real Rush.
I like Grateful Dead from 67 to 72.
They'd play their 14-minute stuff off of Hemispheres, the 14-minute songs they had back then, Cygnus and all that stuff, that. And I don't know what year they recorded All the World's a Stage. Would that have been
76?
Yeah. That was 76 even.
That's the 2112 tour.
Okay.
Then they came out with Kings. Then they came out with Hemispheres. That was their progressive period.
Okay.
The bathrobe period.
Yeah. That would have been the Jimmy Johnson time frame with him, as we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Jimmy Johnson was still with him in the 90s.
And then, yep.
All the way through the 90s, yeah.
Yeah. My gosh. I'm sorry, Tony. I got off on a tangent. We were working our way through.
No, you are good. I want to ask you though.
Yeah.
Now that Rush pick studio sessions from '03. I know that pick. We showed that pick on our Rush episode here on Show Me Your Pick. Tell us the story behind that.
Well, that came out of straight from Jimmy Johnson, so that was a legit. I don't know if it was more of a gift or a recognition of some studio time they did then, but Jimmy just said, "Greg, look, I just need a favor. I need some of these Rush picks with their logo and that's saying on it." And I'm like, "Jimmy, whatever you need, sir, it's yours." So we worked those up, and so yeah, if you've got those were all legit, straight from Jimmy's hands to the band, and then out and about. So
nice.
And I think I just did those. The ones you've probably had. Those were all the. I got one of those on my display here somewhere too, but with that.
Yeah.
Or no,
Tortoise.
no, I don't have one on my display here, but I've got another display. Was that the gold on black?
It was the gold on I think gold on tortoise.
On tortoise? Okay.
Maybe it was black.
I think we did a couple did we do a couple variations of that?
I've got the pick.
But yeah. But yeah, that was
I think it's gold on black. That's the way it looks.
Gold on black?
Well, that's the way it looks online. It's hard to tell.
Okay. Yeah, that was back straight
I think
through
that's right.
Through Mr. Johnson. So
nice.
I get to relive my youth talking to all you guys about.
That's how it works, Greg.
I know.
That's how it works, man.
That's why we do this.
And I'll take it. I like that. I tell folks, I am all about living for the future. I just turned 60, by the way. I'm an old man. I'm all about living for the future, but I am a sentimental old fool. I'm just a sentimental guy, but so that's why awesome. That's why we could. I don't mean to bore you guys. I mean that's why we could keep talking about this stuff all night. But at some point we're going to get cut off. So.
I know, and we could go on and on.
Yeah,
this has been
give
great.
Me the hook, Tony.
Well,
this has been great.
We could.
We'll definitely have to have you back.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if you get desperate, I'm available if you guys want to talk. But I know that my voice probably wears on you a little bit.
Not at all.
This ugly mug is not the best thing for your screen time out there. But if down the road if you want to have me back, I can give you some updates.
Absolutely.
Updates
Most
on
definitely.
any technology or any other gossip or anything else that I can chat about or better yet, watch for my name to show up on your chat list on future sessions. I'll join you guys.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you
awesome.
for your time. This has been so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Before we run away, we want to thank everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. This has been so much fun. And let's say hello to this young gal right there that keeps us on.
Hey, it's great night to be streaming, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Greg. That was great. And yes, we'd love to have you back.
Oh, I'll say something about you personally, Sandra. Thank you, and thanks for keeping all these nice gentlemen in line. You're a gutsy woman to join a chat room with obviously a bunch of great guys, but being a solo woman, that's a hard role sometimes. So
we're all afraid of her. We're all afraid of her. Greg.
I had all brothers growing up, so it's really
pure
no
fear.
different for me.
Yeah, it's pure fear.
Keep them all in line. So well, good. And Sandra, thanks for on behalf of the guys who have just done pics for that you did artwork for. Thanks for making that so so easy and making my product.
Yes, a lot of
Outstanding.
artwork. A lot of
Absolutely.
Thank
artwork
you.
happens
Thank you.
She knew if it
It's
out
was
of that tiny body right there. A lot of art comes from it.
She knew if it was up to Quentin to get the actual technical details of getting the images to you, it would have never happened.
Right.
Yeah,
And getting the right resolution and everything,
yeah.
it
So
would have never
good.
happened, right, Sandra?
Quentin knows more than he lets on.
No, I know. He's a good dude.
And he's a great
He's a
great
good dude.
guitar player too. He's modest
Quentin
about
rocks.
it, but he's
He
a
is.
player.
Rocks,
He
man.
is a
Oh, there's no
player.
question in that.
Yeah,
Hey,
he is.
He needs
Before
to
I
bring
go,
the
let me-
knee
let me-
pads back.
Before I go, before we sign off here, let me I don't want to blind you, turn the camera into the sights. Let me show you just for frame of reference. I'll show you my environment here.
Absolutely.
I keep this room really clean because I use it for my rehearsal room. If I showed you my pick room, which is adjacent next door, it's the exact opposite. It is a typical. It is just a mess. I know where
It's a
everything is.
shop.
It is a disaster, and I've got probably. If I had to count the blank picks I've got there now, I probably have 20. I bet I got 20,000 blank picks sitting next door.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
call my name to get imprinted. So I won't show you that. That'd be kind of boring for you. I apologize for not taking a photo of my pad printing system and my systems to have.
We'll do that next time, definitely.
Yeah, next time, Tony. And again, I'll come on anytime you want, but I recognize, you've got a lot of other great topics to talk about, but I'm always available to talk to you and your good folks. I'll have some photos of kind of the operation and the jigs and that kind of stuff, because I have nothing to hide on this. It's nothing proprietary. It's nothing. I'll share everything I've got. So that way one of you can, when I have to retire from this gig, one of you can take over or something. So.
Well, I will say this, Greg. I've had to bite my tongue once or twice because I see a lot of your work in future episodes of Show Me Your Pick here that we'll talk about after the show. But yeah, a lot of your stuff is here. Yeah, and it's great stuff. We love our.
Yeah, I know. I
Love
like
that
it.
pick. Love that pick.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a cool. It's kind of I guess a direct or indirect connection we've got. There's things that I touch 10 times. They go through the mail. They come up to a guitar player, and then they get shared with other guitar players. It's really it's a nice bonding thing, isn't it?
Right.
It's
Definitely.
I mean,
Most
you guys
definitely.
like talking about it. I love talking about it.
Well, here too, proofs in the pudding. So this is let me see if I can get this here. Oh, there we go. So this is this pick. Oh, can't see it that well, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about the edges, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it though. It's super smooth. Now this is I bought a gross of these, right? I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. This is unused. You probably can't see it on the light. You see where it looks like it's worn down, like a shadow.
Yeah.
That's because it wasn't tumbled at all.
Okay.
It actually has. I can feel almost like a piece of sandpaper. I can feel. See right there, that tiny little thing.
Yeah.
You can actually see it stick out right there.
Okay.
And right here, it's even worse. They literally didn't cut it at all.
Oh,
There's
wow.
air.
And that's because they weren't tumbled properly or long enough, or not at all.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this too, Greg, and it's not just with the thin gauge picks. I've seen them in medium, but and not to pick on any one particular company but I've seen that some older picks, they tend to bend.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Is that because of what they're made of, or?
I think I've seen it with Delrin. even unprinted Delrin, sometimes it'll get warped. I've got some old stock in my across the hallway in that. But yes, I've seen that. Not so much with celluloid, again, unless depending on the long-term effect of the UV zapping of those. So
Yeah.
That's the other difference. I always warp cheap picks within like 30 to 45 minutes. You know, and you're like, oh, well, it's not worn out, but I can't use it because it's literally curved. And I'm like, no, so it's like, I'd rather buy one that lasts till I actually wear out the tip, and pay like however many extra 10, 15, 20, 30 cents more per pick than have to buy 10 times more picks because they're,
Yep. No, I fully understand.
All right. We are going to get out of here. Let me
do my sincere Tony. First off, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you, and of course for your order. I'm glad those picks worked out well, and I'm glad that was the starting point for us hooking up. So
yeah, this has been a pleasure, Greg. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Greg Collins,
Absolutely,
everybody.
Greg. Thank you.
Let's
Thank
swear
you.
some
Come
more.
on.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
my great honor and pleasure being with all you tonight, and for everyone there, on whether on the comments section. Thanks for joining in, and all of you that I spoke to directly and had questions and comments. Thank you all so much. This is good stuff.
Thank you,
had a
Greg.
ball.
Thank you.
I'm honored that I was able to be part of it. So
definitely.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We look forward to having you back.
Absolutely.
Greg. And anybody that wants some custom guitar picks made, Greg's links, legend picks are down below. A couple of different links. Hit him up.
Legendpicks.com.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
And I apologize again for how dated the web pages are. But, and if anyone wants any samples of, I'll work up samples, and I can either send you a photo or send them out in the mail if you want to try them out. So, look, I want to make sure that before you order, you're gonna get what you expect, and if there's any problems with the orders, I will make it right. I'll make it right. So that's what keeps me.
Awesome.
That's what keeps me going.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great looking pics. Love them. Yes, absolutely.
You rock, dude.
Absolutely. This has been such a treat.
Definitely.
Greg, thanks so much. We're going to end this broadcast. Stay there. We'll talk backstage. Everybody, have a great weekend.
Love you guys. Be good.
Thanks. We'll see you next week, 9 o'clock Eastern. Show me your pick right here. See ya.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. We'll see you.
Yell at the end.